Chapter 242. In front of the Black River Chamber of Commerce, countless people were watching. Some were pointing at them, some were sympathetic, some were disdainful, and some were just onlookers. Someone exclaimed, "Isn't that the thug legend?" Wow, they are really the 5 heavenly talents of the 4th Academy. The Black River Chamber of Commerce is too much. How can they bully a group of children? Someone didn't believe it. I don't know if it's true, but it seems that there must be a conflict between the two. Someone said casually, "Who cares? Anyway, we can't afford the contractual spiritual beasts of the Black River Chamber of Commerce. It's good that the fish dragons are going to make a new game." Everyone was talking. Behind him, Jean Yunqing shouted, "Han Fei, do you know the consequences of maliciously slandering the Black River Chamber of Commerce?" Han Fei turned around and said provocatively, "What consequences? Do you want to hit me? Come on, try it. Believe it or not, our teacher can slap your Black River Chamber of Commerce to pieces." Seeing Jean Yunqing's angry face, Han Fei saw that Little Black had sneaked out. Suddenly, Han Fei shouted, "Attach!" In an instant, the phantom of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, which startled the audience, including Jean Yunqing. Han Fei smiled. "Don't be nervous. I just want to show off my contractual spiritual beasts. Your Black River Chamber of Commerce doesn't have any, right?" Jean Yunqing gnashed his teeth. "Han Fei, do you really think the Black River Chamber of Commerce can't deal with you?" Han Fei immediately canceled the attachment. He just hid the fact that he had taken back Little Black and Little White. Han Fei pretended to be scared. "Hey, look at you. Okay, the fish dragons have vented their anger. I warn you, you can spread the fish dragon cards, but you must use the name fish dragon cards. If one day I hear about Black River chess cards or Black Heart chess cards from another village, I'll deal with you again." Zhang Xuanyu was stunned. "You're leaving?" Han Fei asked. "Then why don't you stay here?" Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. Luo Xiaobai and Xia Shaochan were the first to slip away from the side. This was too embarrassing. They thought they were here to fight, but it turned out that they were here to act pitifully. Jean Yunqing clenched his fists. The fish dragons? How could he eradicate the fish dragons? However, at this moment, a staff member of the Black River Chamber of Commerce hurriedly walked out and said something to Jean Yunqing with a pale face. In an instant, Jean Yunqing's momentum soared, and the power of a dangling fisher burst out. Han Fei, stop! Jean Yunqing's phantom big hand grabbed at Han Fei. Han Fei looked back and was not surprised to see the scene. Jiang Qin had used similar power before, and her fist shadow was much more powerful than this big hand phantom. However, Han Fei didn't move or stop him. Lu Rinquang quickly raised his shield and stood in front of them. Humph! Amidst the exclamations, the giant hand was already in front of Han Fei and the others. Suddenly, a shadow of a fist burst out from the crowd and smashed the giant hand with lightning speed. However, the fist did not lose momentum and went straight to Jean Yunqing. Boom! Jean Yunqing was sent flying, and the gate of the Black River Chamber of Commerce burst open, leaving a big hole of 7 or 8 meters in diameter. The crowd burst into exclamations, and under the shocked gazes of countless people, Xiao Zhan's figure walked out of the crowd. "Humph! How dare you attack the students of my academy? Who gave you the courage?" Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others all swallowed. This F*King Fist is too powerful, isn't it? What level of power did Xiao Zhan use just now? A smile appeared on the corner of Han Fei's mouth. "Teacher, you're awesome." Xiao Zhan glared at Han Fei. "Go back to school." Li, who was following Han Fei, almost peed his pants. Gang and the others almost peed their pants. Was this the realm above the great fishing master level? At that moment, they felt that they were about to be torn apart. It was simply too terrifying. However, when they thought about it, they were all shocked. So what if the Black River Chamber of Commerce is powerful? Is it more powerful than the teachers of the Thug Academy? The entire Thug Academy is our shareholder, okay? We get members from the fish dragons every month. Thinking of this, they all glowed with joy. In the ruins, Jin Yunqing vomited a mouthful of blood. He was too strong. At that moment, he couldn't fight back at all. Are the teachers of the Thug Academy so strong? On the way back, Xiao Zhan frowned. Don't do this kind of thing next time. Don't embarrass the school. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. No, I won't do it again. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Today, we have completely offended the Black River Chamber of Commerce. They will probably retaliate. Han Fei said indifferently, Don't be afraid. Gang Zi, hire those great fishing masters of the Black River Chamber of Commerce at double the price, and then find a random person to poison our hot pot restaurant and then be caught by us on the spot. Do you know how to do this? Huh. Everyone stopped and looked at Han Fei up and down. Li Gang also trembled. Ruthless. This is really ruthless. Not only ruthless, but also black-hearted. The people are from the Black River Chamber of Commerce. If they are caught on the spot, how can the Black River Chamber of Commerce get away with it? Their reputation will be tarnished. Han Fei smiled dryly. Don't look at me like this. This kind of thing may really happen. In the food industry, this kind of means is too common. Instead of waiting for others to do it, we might as well do it ourselves. If there is a similar incident, the first thing people will think of is the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Well, Zhang Xuanyu, you handle this matter. Puff! Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. Why me? Han Fei said to him via voice transmission. You are the only one here who will treat a little girl to dinner. Zhang Xuanyu's expression changed several times and he gnashed his teeth. You win. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Han Fei, this kind of behavior is not righteous. Han Fei sneered. Righteous? In this endless ocean, what is righteous? Don't be too kind. Don't think that only the ocean is good. Is the floating island any worse than the ocean? In this world, the most terrible thing is always the human heart. Xiao Zhan's heart did skip a beat. This was not the first time he had heard this. Old Bai often said this. He really couldn't judge whether Han Fei was good or bad. But Han Fei was definitely a good student, so Xiao Zhan didn't take it seriously. Han Fei patted Li again. The gang said, Come back with me. I'm going to expand the business of the fish dragons. I'm not joking. We must do what we say. Li Gang was surprised. Young master, is there really a new game? Han Fei chuckled. Not only a game, but I'm also going to open a fish dragon buffet restaurant in the Blue Sea town. Forget it, I won't tell you now. You'll know it later. Half a month later. The fish dragons suddenly went on a rampage, opening 36 large shops and nearly 100 ordinary shops in the Blue Sea town. Of course, this didn't cause much trouble in the Blue Sea town. After all, the Blue Sea town was too big, with a population of 5 million. Who would pay attention to who rented what shop? But when the shops were opened, it was different. When a novel shop suddenly appeared, people would try it even if they just wanted to try it. On the 8th day of training, a major event broke out in the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant, which alarmed the inspectors. It was said that a great fishing master poisoned the hot pot restaurant and was discovered on the spot. Later, the inspectors verified that this person was from the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Immediately, this incident spread, and the reputation of the Black River Chamber of Commerce was ruined. In addition, the Black River Chamber of Commerce had recently breached the contract with the contractual spiritual beasts they promised, which had been criticized by many people. It was said that when the poisoning incident spread, Jin Yunqing vomited blood in front of everyone, which was very angry. However, one thing after another pushed the fish dragons to the public, so when the fish dragons launched the Fish Dragon Mahjong House and Fish Dragon Seafood Buffet, it went very smoothly. Especially the Mahjong game, which took less than 3 days to sweep across almost half of the Blue Sea town. There were countless people who wanted to buy it every day, so the fish dragons urgently recruited a group of people from the Heavenly Water Village. Of course, he didn't care about the details, because another year's enrollment season had begun. At this moment, at the gate of the Thug Academy, a sea of people, mobile phone station. Chapter 243. Don't push. Line up. Line up. The fat Anlu Rinquang's face shook and he shouted, "Line up and pay the assessment fee first. You can participate in the assessment with 10 mid-quality pearls." A parent shouted, "Little brother, isn't it too expensive? My son is so talented. How can we not pay?" Lu Rinquang shouted, "You don't have to pay. Those above the realm of a great fishing master don't have to pay the assessment fee. Those below the realm of a great fishing master have to pay unless they are really talented. By the way, those below the realm of a fishing master have no hope of entering our Thug Academy." As soon as Lu Rinquang said this, many people changed their expressions. In the crowd, a boy wondered, "Dad, why do you want to come to the 4th Academy? Can't we go to the 1st Academy?" The boy's father said angrily, "Shut up. If you can enter the 4th Academy, why would you go to the other 3 academies? Don't talk nonsense." Some people were indeed poor and their children were not talented enough to become fishing masters, so they chose to leave, but most people still chose to stay. In any case, compared with their future, 10 mid-quality pearls was nothing. Old Bai was far more interested in money than in the assessment. At this moment, he was sitting alone at the gate of the academy with a long table in front of him and a big basket beside him. He was only responsible for collecting money. Those who came here because of his fame all regarded him as a lonely old man in the school and thought he was just a guard. In addition to Lu Rinquang standing at the door and shouting, Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others were all sitting on chairs in the open space at the door. The chairs were lined up, and there was a sign hanging beside them, on which were written Spirit Gatherer, Soul Warrior, Hunter, Manipulator, and Armorist, respectively. Of course, because of the shortage of manpower, the armorist Lu Rinquang, who was also the school publicist, was standing at the gate and shouting. His chair was empty. Someone paid the money and stood in the open space in front of Han Fei and the others with a trembling face. Lu Rinquang said, "Hey, listen up, all of you. You can choose any of the 5 major professions. As long as you can last more than 5 minutes in the same realm, you are qualified to enter our Thug Academy. Our 5 examiners are absolutely fair and will never go easy on you. Do you understand?" The first examinee came over. The boy looked at Han Fei and the others uneasily and hurriedly said, "My name is—" Before he finished, Luo Xiaobai said, "We don't need you to tell us names. It's a waste of time. Tell me your name after you become a member of the Thug Academy." The boy froze for a moment and then made up his mind. He picked up the stick and said, "I challenge the Spirit Gatherer." Zhang Xuanyu was not surprised at all. It was too normal. Everyone thought that spirit gatherers were the targets to be protected on the battlefield and their combat ability was extremely poor. It was not a problem for them to jump to the spirit gatherers at the beginning of the battle, but the problem was that they forgot where they were. This was the Thug Academy. Even if he suppressed his realm, could Han Fei be an ordinary spirit gatherer? Lu Rinquang simply shouted. Everyone silence. "Next, prepare. Remember, as long as you can hold on for 5 seconds, you'll pass the test." Han Fei rose and suppressed his level to that of a level 9 fisher. Picking up a regular iron rod, he said, "Come on." The young man took a deep breath. On his way here, his father had told him about the 5 of them. He was betting that the level 9 fisher Han Fei was not as strong as him. Ah! The young man shouted and spiritual energy erupted from the iron rod. However, Han Fei just held the rod casually, slightly leaned to the side, and slapped it horizontally. With a clang, the boy was sent flying out of the school gate. Han Fei said casually, Don't try to use a spiritual energy explosion at the beginning. You can't beat anyone here in a spiritual energy explosion. Lu Rinquang shouted next. However, the people in line were dumbfounded. Damn it. One move? Han Fei didn't even bother to admit it. When I was a F*King level 9 fisher, I could even fight with Li Ju. You want to beat me with a spiritual energy explosion? What the hell? Then a girl came in, and before Han Fei walked back, she shouted, I also challenge the spirit gatherer. Then the girl took out 2 daggers. Han Fei grinned. A junior fishing master and a hunter? Come on. Just at the moment the girl disappeared, Han Fei slightly leaned to the side. Without even using the rod, he directly punched out, and the girl's petite figure was smashed away from the air and fell outside the door. Lu Rinquang shouted next. Wait a minute. The girl was not convinced. She got up from the ground and said, If you are just an ordinary junior fishing master, how can you find me? Yes, this girl is a hunter. Yes, is it really okay for the examiner? In the crowd, some people began to doubt him, and there was a lot of discussion. Han Fei grinned. The sound of the wind. A half-baked hunter. Before the person arrives, the wind arrives first. How can you be a hunter? Next. Han Fei didn't care about the girl at all. This was an assessment. He wouldn't cheat on a junior fishing master. Lu Rinquang said angrily, Don't doubt our examiner. You are not worthy of our examiner cheating. You are too weak. If you doubt it, you can leave. Next. This time no one asked Han Fei. A handsome boy said, I choose armorist. Lu Rinquang went straight to the field. I am an armorist. Come on. Lu Rinquang took out a knife from his armor box. But the handsome boy suddenly ran around Lu Rinquang at a very fast speed. Lu Rinquang laughed, raised a saber, and swung it in a circle. With a ding, the boy retreated 6 or 7 steps. Before he could react, a saber appeared in front of him. Lu Rinquang was speechless. What are you thinking? Do you think armorists are easy to bully just because they are slow? My speed is slow, but my knife is fast. 1, 2, let alone 5 breaths of time. None of them could even last for 2 breaths of time. Someone challenged Luo Xiaobai and was sent flying with a vine. She didn't even have to lift her, but someone thought he was an armorist and challenged Xia Shaochan. Before he took out his shield, Xia Shaochan had already put her dagger on his neck. Someone thought he was an armorist and challenged Xia Shaochan. On the other hand, Zhang Xuanyu was a soul warrior himself. In everyone's impression, he was the best at fighting and had the fewest challengers. The assessment went on for nearly an hour, except for one person who lasted for 3 minutes under Lu Rinquang's attack. The rest basically only lasted 1 move. Seeing this scene, many people despaired and directly left. What was there to compete for? Was this something that a human could compete against? Lu Rinquang's voice was hoarse. He ran back to his seat and pulled Han Fei up. Go, go. I can't shout anymore. Give me some dried fish. I'm hungry. Han Fei. Han Fei took out a handful of dried fish and handed it to Lu Rinquang, and then kicked Zhang Xuanyu. You're the most relaxed one. You're almost asleep. Go and shout. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Aren't you tired of standing there? However, Zhang Xuanyu was really bored, so he got up and walked to the door. I told you that you'd better not challenge anyone below the fishing master realm. Those who can enter the Thug Academy are all people who can challenge people above their level. If you can kill a junior fishing master as a level 9 fisher, you're welcome to challenge me. If you can't, you can go back. At this time, a young man in fine clothes walked out of the crowd, holding a rod and saying, I challenge a soul warrior. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. Is someone finally challenging me? Zhang Xuanyu laughed. Come on. The young man moved his feet, and the rod in his hand turned into dozens of rod shadows, stabbing straight at Zhang Xuanyu. Yo, interesting, but the shortcoming is too obvious. The spiritual energy can't be balanced. I can tell it's fake at a glance. Zhang Xuanyu knocked away the real rod and swept it at the young man in fine clothes. But the young man suddenly leaned back and took out 2 daggers from his back. The show charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Ha! Wave! Zhang Xuanyu struck out with his rod, and as if there were waves rolling behind him, he was sent flying with a bang. Zhang Xuanyu dropped the rod and walked to the door. Your combat skills are good, but your control of spiritual energy is not good enough. You're both a soul warrior and a hunter, but you're not proficient in either. You're too slow. Next. At this time, someone in the team was speechless. A genius with 2 professions. How could he just win? Well, sir, can I get a refund? Old Bai rolled his eyes at the person who spoke. What are you thinking? Have you ever seen a refund after paying? Another 2 hours passed. The long line was gone, and there were only less than 100 people left. This was probably the school with the fastest enrollment speed in history. Countless people cursed when they left. What kind of school is this? They just don't want to enroll students. At this time, in front of old Bai's table, a young man stammered, "Grandpa, I only have 1 mid-quality pearl. Can I take the assessment?" Cell phone site. Chapter 244. Beside the boy was an old man with white hair, who was smiling at old Bai, holding a mid-quality pearl in his hand. Old Bai glanced at him and waved his hand. Forget it. Let's go." As soon as old Bai finished speaking, someone behind him said, Old man, why don't they pay?" Old Bai snorted. "If you are poor, you can refuse to pay." That was the reality. The poor were poor. Although old Bai was greedy for money, this pair of grandfather and grandson were obviously poor. They didn't even have a stick in their hands. It was immoral of them to accept money from others. The boy walked to the martial arts field, looked around, and finally took a deep breath. "I challenge the manipulator." As soon as the boy said this, the people waiting behind all shook their heads. Was this boy's head hit by an ironhead fish? This manipulator was the captain of the thug legend. Up to now, she didn't even lift her, but how could he challenge her? Lu Rinquang wondered. Han Fei, if I'm not mistaken, this boy has just become a junior fishing master, right? The pressure of his spiritual energy looks a bit weak. Han Fei nodded. You're right. His physique is a bit weak. The group of people behind were waiting to see a good show. They estimated that this boy would be defeated with 1 whip. Looking at the slightly nervous boy, Luo Xiaobai nodded very seriously, still sitting there meticulously. The boy opened his hand, and the ground under his feet instantly turned green, and large pieces of filamentous seaweed spread out. Seaweed? Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Yes, this was the most common seaweed, even the kind that had no name, which could be seen everywhere in ordinary fisheries. Everyone thought that this would be a battle without any suspense, and that it wouldn't even take a breath of time. But when Luo Xiaobai raised her hand, she didn't summon her vines. Luo Xiaobai bounced off the chair and stepped out of the seaweed that was spreading over. She raised her hand again, summoned the vines from the open space, and slapped down. However, to everyone's astonishment, the young man's entire body slumped to the ground and disappeared. Large pieces of seaweed appeared on the ground. Smack! With a slap of the vines, a large area of seaweed was flattened, but the remaining seaweed spread towards Luo Xiaobai like maggots. Exclamations came from the crowd behind him. Lu Rinquang also exclaimed, "Wow, is this a combat skill? Or was it some kind of ability?" He turned himself into seaweed. Han Fei also widened his eyes. That's an exaggeration. Turning people into grass? Grass doesn't die and people don't perish? In this way, unless we grind this entire stretch of seaweed into dregs, we won't be able to kill this person, right? Luo Xiaobai was very calm. She summoned dozens of vines and swept them across. Everywhere it passed, a faint mist bloomed. Zhang Xuanyu smiled. When Xiaobai was a junior fishing master, she hadn't mastered the use of poison yet. She only mastered some paralysis skills. However, this should be enough. Sure enough, the sea of seaweed stopped moving forward. Even so, the seaweed had already spread to an area of 30 to 40 meters. At this moment, he couldn't find the youth at all. Luo Xiaobai didn't panic, but stared at the seaweed carefully. It was impossible for this youth to be so invincible. There had to be a loophole. There was no such thing as a perfect ability in this world. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Han Fei nodded. I saw it. Lu Rinquang asked, where? After a full 3 minutes, Luo Xiaobai suddenly pointed her vines at an inconspicuous seaweed among the vines. However, in the middle of the attack, Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely, time's up. The examinee has passed. The group of people outside were shocked. They were not only shocked that the boy passed, but also shocked by this boy's godlike ability. Turning into seaweed? This was simply unheard of. The seaweed gradually gathered and turned into the boy's appearance again. The boy looked back at his grandpa with a big grin. The old man smiled kindly. Nanan, come and greet senior brother and senior sister. The boy quickly took a breath, turned around, and bowed to Han Fei and the others. Chu Jinan greets senior brother and senior sister. Han Fei quite liked this guy. Although he looked a little stupid, he seemed to have a good character. He waved his hand and said, come sit here. Han Fei pointed to Zhang Xuanyu's seat, and Chu Jinan was taken aback. Han Fei smiled. It's okay. He's standing. Chu Jinan blinked and didn't sit down. He just stood behind Zhang Xuanyu's chair and looked at Zhang Xuanyu cautiously. However, Zhang Xuanyu didn't feel anything and continued to shout, next. The remaining hundreds of people all saw someone pass the assessment with their own eyes, and it was Luo Xiaobai's seat. Immediately, someone chose Luo Xiaobai, but the result? As expected, they all failed. So far, except for Chu Jinan, no one had passed. When there were only 7 or 8 applicants left, Han Fei saw Grandpa Leader coming with Suya. Han Fei quickly moved his chair to the side of the door. Grandpa Leader, you're here? Seeing Han Fei move his chair out, the village leader quickly waved his hand. No, you're taking the assessment now. Sit down. It's okay. I still have a chair with me. Under the gaze of countless people, many people stared at the girl next to Han Fei, wondering if she got in through the back door. The village leader asked Han Fei, I heard that you haven't recruited a single student yet. Where are you? We just recruited one. The village leader looked over, saw a standing boy, and couldn't help taking a deep breath. So far, only one. Han Fei scratched his head. Hey, it's mainly because there are too few people who meet the requirements. The village leader paused and hurriedly waved his hand to let Han Fei go back. He finally sat down on the chair. After all, a child from our village moved a chair here, which was a great honor for him. The village leader suggested, Suya, this assessment is not easy. Give it a try. If you can't pass, we can go to other academies. Suya looked at the few people left in front of the Thug Academy, took a deep breath, and nodded. Since she saw Han Fei's strength last time, she asked a lot about the 4th Academy and heard about Han Fei's brilliant record of winning 100 games in a row in the Blue Sea Arena. So, she had to come to have a try. In fact, Han Fei had actually helped her get in through the back door. One plate, Ray, had improved her cultivation by 2 levels. At this moment, she was already a peak level 9 fisher. Among the few people left, a woman led a girl over. Surprisingly, although the girl was petite, she was carrying an armor box. Lu Rinquang's eyes lit up. A female armorist, rare. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Who do you want to challenge? The girl looked straight at Zhang Xuanyu. I want to challenge you. Zhang Xuanyu froze for a moment and chuckled. Okay. Zhang Xuanyu picked up the fine iron rod. Attention, it's starting. Zhang Xuanyu suppressed his realm to that of a level 9 fisher and stabbed casually, and waves seemed to surge behind him. In the eyes of others, it was a wave of spiritual energy. However, the girl turned around and inserted the armor box in front of her. The box opened and 9 long swords shot out with a swish. The long swords stood upright and rotated around the girl. With a clang, the long swords were knocked away. At the same time, Zhang Xuanyu also took 3 or 4 steps back. Immediately, the eyes of Han Fei and the others lit up. Xia Shaochan was delighted. Good. Lu Rinquang laughed. It's a sword array, no worse than my knife array. Zhang Xuanyu smiled faintly. 3 layered waves in furious sea. The girl's face changed slightly. The 9 swords that were knocked away returned in an instant, and one of them shot directly at Zhang Xuanyu. Crack! A sword was broken, and the girl vomited a mouthful of blood. However, she didn't stop and shot the second sword again, stronger and fiercer. Crack! The second sword was broken again, and the girl vomited blood again, her face extremely pale. At this time, Zhang Xuanyu's attack hadn't been broken yet. The girl shouted, and the 7 swords gathered in front of her in a circle, like a sword shield. Bam! The sword shield was knocked away, and the girl was hit flying by the rod, rolling 5 or 6 times on the ground. But suddenly, spiritual energy surged out of the girl's body, and she immediately got up. The 7 swords merged into one and turned into a big sword, shooting straight at Zhang Xuanyu. Wave slash! Zhang Xuanyu naturally didn't show any mercy and attacked with all his strength. However, the fine iron rod in his hand was shattered inch by the giant sword that had merged into one. There was really no other way. Zhang Xuanyu directly covered the huge sword with spiritual energy and patted it 3 times in a row. Only then did he manage to deflect the powerful sword. Zhang Xuanyu used the strength of a peak-level fisher. You pass. To be precise, when Zhang Xuanyu patted the sword for the second time, he used too much strength. Since she could force him to use a higher realm than others, she naturally passed. When the girl heard this, she vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. At this time, a vine quickly stretched out from the ground, wrapped around the girl, and helped her to Zhang Xuanyu's position. Luo Xiaobai simply said heal. Chapter 245. Han Fei waved his hand. An ray of light fell on the girl. In the eyes of outsiders it was magical, but Luo Xiaobai and the others were used to it. The girl's face quickly turned from pale to ruddy. After all, she was only a level 9 fisher, and it was much easier for her to recover than for a great fishing master. Seeing the girl slowly open her eyes, the woman outside the school gate breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she could enter the Thug Academy, it would be worth it no matter how serious her injury was. Han Fei glanced at the girl. Don't talk. The injury will be healed in 100 minutes. Keep your breath steady. The girl nodded slightly. The people behind her couldn't help but smile bitterly when they saw the scene. This is too difficult. If they were in his shoes, they would have been defeated long ago. They probably couldn't even take the first blow, let alone the 3 blows of the 3 layered waves in furious sea. At the door, Suya was pale and very nervous. The village leader sighed. It's okay. Just try your best. Don't pick Han Fei. Suya nodded. Of course, she wouldn't pick Han Fei. Last time she found it at home. Even if Han Fei was 1 level lower, he could easily defeat her, let alone the same level. Suya went up and quickly glanced at the 5 of them. Lu Rinquang looked at Han Fei. Your village? Junior sister? Han Fei nodded. Yes. Lu Rinquang laughed. Unfortunately, no one will go easy on you. Han Fei nodded. Of course. Suya ruled out Han Fei first, Xia Shaochan second, and Lu Rinquang third. It was not difficult for an armorist to deal with her. Suya looked at Zhang Xuanyu, thinking of the storm-like attack just now. She still couldn't resist it. In the end, She could only look at Luo Xiaobai. I choose the manipulator. Luo Xiaobai nodded, and at the same time, she received a voice transmission from Han Fei in her mind. Do her a favor and defeat her in the 4th minute. Han Fei knew that Suya definitely couldn't pass, but it would be of great benefit to her future if she could hold on for 1 more minute. For the sake of the village leader, he was shameless. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly and nodded imperceptibly. Suddenly, patches of spirit entangling grass grew around Suya. Almost at the same time as the spirit entangling grass, a vine slashed over. Suya gritted her teeth and somersaulted to the side. At the same time, she entangled the spirit grass on the vines. When other vines attacked, the spirit entangled grass had already wrapped around Suya's waist and pulled her away from the air. The battle between the two manipulators seemed to be a thrilling battle. Suya dodged left and right. To be honest, it had only been a few days since the innate spirit awakening, and it was already pretty good that the innate spirit plant could be used to this extent. But on the 4th breath, a vine whooshed through the air. Suya wanted to dodge again, but she saw that the spirit entangled grass was entangled by vines. Bang! Suya was sent flying by a vine. She spat out a mouthful of blood and couldn't get up again. Luo Xiaobai said, "You're talented and your control is not bad, but your fear is too strong. If you take the initiative to attack me, you might have a chance." At this point, the entire test was over. Han Fei walked out of the school gate, waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on Suya. "Not bad. Go to the 1st Academy. Grandpa Village Chief, I'm sorry to have wasted your trip." The village leader shook his head with a wry smile. "The assessment should be rigorous. I won't stay here any longer. I have to take Suya to the 1st Academy." Han Fei nodded. "The injury will be healed in a few minutes." Seeing this scene, many people sighed. It seemed that it was impossible to get in through the back door. In other people's eyes, Suya had persisted for 2 minutes. If he had any sense of sentiment, he would have given it to her. For this reason, many people ran to say hello to the village leader. "Grandpa, the one in your village, is too strict, isn't he? He should have passed the test. Alas, what a waste to raise this brat. Grandpa, it's okay. It's the same to go to the 1st Academy." The village leader greeted them one by one with a smile, but didn't say anything. After the crowd dispersed, on the way to the 1st Academy, the village leader slowly said, "Do you think Han Fei is a bit unreasonable?" Suya didn't speak, but the expression on her face was not very natural. The village leader sighed. "In fact, he has passed the back door for you." "Yes, I know. Not the plate ray, but just now." Suya was surprised. "Just now?" The village leader nodded. "Although you fought with that Luo Xiaobai for 2 minutes, that's because she didn't want to defeat you directly. Several times, as long as she blocked your spirit entangling grass, you would be defeated. But she defeated you at the 4th minute. What does this mean?" Suya looked at the village leader in surprise. Deliberately, the village leader nodded again. "Just look at the others. As far as we can see, few people can hold on for more than 3 minutes. You held on for 2 minutes. This is your strength," Suya added, "but the girl passed." The village leader gave a hollow laugh. "That's a genius. On the way here, we saw many people sigh and leave. Today, I'm afraid there are no less than 1,000 people coming to sign up. But how many people have entered in total? There were only 2 of them. Do you know what this means?" Not only the village leader and Suya were thinking about this problem. Many people who came to sign up, including those from the 3 academies, were also thinking about this problem. The 1st Academy, the principal's office. After hearing the news, Wu Junwei pondered and said, "The Thug Academy still adheres to its usual style of only accepting real geniuses. But they don't know that the more they do this, the greater the price they will pay in the future." A teacher asked, "President, Do we need to make corresponding changes to our enrollment plan this year? Wu Junhui shook his head. Just a little bit. By the way, recruit all the people from the Thug Academy who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes. The teacher was surprised. President, there are less than 50 such people in total. Wu Junhui replied, Nonsense, of course not. Do you really think those who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes are useless? As for the others, we'll follow the enrollment plan of previous years. Su Tianji of the Second Academy sneered. Needless to say, Wu Junwei must have started snatching people. Among the people eliminated by the Thug Academy, as long as they can hold on for 2 minutes, we'll recruit them. Baikongi still doesn't understand. What's the point of just recruiting some geniuses? No matter how talented they are, they're just a few students. Once he dies midway, the loss won't be small. Chu Mingxue from the Third Academy had the same thought as Su Tianji. Anyone who could last until the second breath would be killed. Why did they open an academy? Just to recruit geniuses? No. The 3 major academies were the backbone of cultivating talents. The Thug Academy was not a school at all. How could they be afraid of a few people? The Thug Academy. The girl recovered from her injuries and said to Han Fei, Thank you, senior brother Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu came over. Are you okay? I used too much strength just now. Don't mind me. The girl replied, Hello, senior brother Zhang. It's my duty. This is the assessment. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. Girl, what's your name? When Han Fei heard this, he kicked Zhang Xuanyu. Her mother is still here. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. I asked for your name. Until now, I still don't know junior sister's name. My name is Ling Yuan, and my spiritual beast is a basalt conch. Han Fei didn't know what a basalt conch was, but a basalt conch usually had strong defensive power. Just now, he could tell that even though this girl was spitting out mouthfuls of blood, she was still able to withstand it. Old Bai closed the stall and said, Lurin Quang, come and carry the money back. Xiao Bai, invite the guests in. Han Fei, your punishment period is not over yet. Go cook. Zhang Xuanyu, take the junior brothers and junior sisters to build tree houses. Old Bai felt that he had arranged everything in order, but he didn't know that Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked at each other. Shouldn't a student's vocation be to cultivate, cook, build tree houses? Luo Xiao Bai walked forward obediently. Grandpa and this auntie, please come with me. Zhang Xuanyu snapped his fingers and said, Let's go. I'll show you the environment of our Thug Academy. It's quite beautiful and the key is tranquil. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked curious. Following Zhang Xuanyu and the others to the living area, the 2 of them were dumbfounded. There were 5 tree houses hanging on the trees. Not far below the tree houses was the kitchen. At this moment, Han Fei was taking out a plate ray. The show cut the plate ray into many pieces with a hua 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 sound. He waved his hand in the air and a pool of water began to wash the plate ray. This series of means could be said to be done in one go, and the 2 newcomers were dumbfounded. How could such a powerful ability be used to cook? Zhang Xuanyu said, Don't just stand there. We have to finish setting up the treehouse before Han Fei finishes cooking. Quang Quang, go cut a few big trees. Chu Jinan, Ling Yuan. Chapter 246. After a while, the 2 treehouses had taken shape. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan climbed up and down, feeling very excited. This was different from the entrance assessment. During the entrance assessment, Han Fei and the others were like 5 devils sitting there, scaring all of them. But at this moment, they found that these people were very skinny. 2 hours later, everyone sat down around the big round table. This table had just been built. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for 12 people to sit down. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan naturally sat next to their grandfather and mother. Chu Jinan's grandfather looked gratified. Teachers and students, please take care of my Nan Nan. Xiao Zhan said generously, Grandpa, don't worry. No one dares to bully them in our Thug Academy. Ling Yuan's mother also thanked her. Yuan, listen to the teachers and senior brothers and sisters in the future, okay? Ling Yuan nodded lightly. Okay. Xia, Xiaochan looked at Ling Yuan and then at Luo Xiaobai. I find that their personalities are a bit similar. I noticed it too. Luo Xiaobai ignored the two of them. Let's eat. This was the first time that Chu Jinan had eaten such tempting food. Before, he didn't have money. He had never eaten or even heard of the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant. But Ling Yuan, whose family seemed to be quite rich, seemed to have eaten hot pot before. However, when she saw those side dishes, she was too shocked to speak. She had never tasted these delicacies before. Ling Yuan's mother looked at the dishes on the table and secretly took a breath. These had never appeared on the market before. If they appeared, it would probably affect the diet of the entire Blue Sea town. Hot pot was the first goal of the two teenagers. But when they ate a mouthful of plate ray, they were both stunned. Especially Chu Jinan, his mouth didn't move. The tender and smooth meat rolled over his tongue, and he felt like a bolt from the blue. Was there such delicious food in this world? So, at the dinner table, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan couldn't help nibbling at it. Unfortunately, only after a short while the two of them were steaming and their hair was smoking. Wenren, you said lightly, you too, hurry up and find an open space to sit down and cultivate. You can only eat this much for this meal. Although the two new students really wanted to eat a few more mouthfuls of fish, the spiritual energy in their bodies was surging violently, so they could only put down their chopsticks and sit on the ground to cultivate. Chu Jinan's grandfather kept a smile on his face and sighed in his heart. This is what an advanced academy is like. Look, I've worked hard for dozens of years to push my grandson to his current cultivation level. However, just one meal after entering the school was already very beneficial. Ling Yuan's mother didn't say anything, but she was secretly surprised. Sure enough, he had come to the right place this time. Look at what they were eating here. A rare creature in the level 2 fishery. Even if they only ate and drank every day, the effects would be better than cultivating in the other 3 academies. Of course. She didn't know that Han Fei rarely cooked many dishes. When Han Fei was not cooking, Lu Rinquang would cook or Old Bai and Xiao Zhan would cook. The effect was much worse than Han Fei's. After the meal, Chu Jinan's grandpa and Ling Yuan's mother left. As for Chu Jinan and the other two, they hadn't woken up from their cultivation. Before the 5 of them slipped away, Xiao Zhan suddenly said in a deep voice, "Gather!" Han Fei and the others looked shocked. After resting for such a long time, was the 3rd brocade sachet coming? Soon, the 5 of them lined up in a row. Even though Han Fei was usually mischievous, he was very looking forward to it at this moment. Wasn't this what he had been working so hard for? Old Bai stood in front of everyone, and Xiao Zhan and Wenren, you stood on both sides, expressionless at the moment. Old Bai looked at everyone and slowly said, "So far you have done well. Ms. Wenren has already told me that you have mastered the most basic fishing skills and have found your contractual spiritual beasts. I'm not afraid to say that so far you're truly standing in the top 100 of the 4 academies of the Blue Sea town." Suddenly, Old Bai sneered. "But is it useful to be in the top 100? Let me tell you, in the 1,000-star city, any boy your age can probably enter the top 100. So, this is not something to be proud of. Not to mention the 1,000-star city. The 36 towns under the jurisdiction of the 1,000-star city are also full of strong masters. The Blue Sea town only ranks about 20th among all the towns." 20th. Zhang Xuanyu was surprised. "Shut up." Xiao Zhan snorted and glared at Zhang Xuanyu, and the latter quickly shut up. Old Bai raised a finger. "Even if each town selects 100 of the most talented teenagers, there will be 3,600 people. Among these people, even if you can beat half of them, you will still have 1,800 competitors. So are you still proud of yourself? Han Fei and the others took a breath slightly. Is this how it works? In this way, it seems that there is really nothing to be proud of. But the point is, we are not proud. Old Bai said with a knowing look. Geniuses are very conceited, and the strong are very proud. However, let me tell you, this is far from enough. The students of my Thug Academy have beaten those so-called geniuses to the point that they can't even raise their heads. Now, if the Thug Academy doesn't come back, it's fine. But since you have come back, you must continue the brilliant achievements of your predecessors. The Blue Sea Town is not your goal, nor are the 36 towns. Your goal is to beat those heavenly talents in the 1,000-star city one day. Old Bai's voice was full of vicissitudes. The words coming out of his mouth were very contagious. Lu Rinquang, Xia Shaochan, and the others next to Han Fei were all excited. Old Bai continued, Of course, you have to take things one step at a time. The first 2 brocade sachets were just to let you know yourselves, find your strengths and weaknesses, familiarize yourself with combat skills, and strengthen cooperation. That's all. Now, starting from the 3rd brocade sachet, it represents danger and the crisis of death at any time. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Yes. Everyone said almost in unison. If it weren't for it, why would we work so hard? Xiao Zhan took a step out, holding a brocade sachet in his hand, and looked at them coldly. Since you have accepted the challenge, you must do it. When we were in the level 2 fishery, Ms. Wenrin didn't let you enter the fiery mountain. Now you have a chance. Xiao Zhan threw the brocade sachet in his hand to Luo Xiaobai. Read it. Luo Xiaobai took the brocade sachet, opened it, and looked solemn. Zhang Xuanyu quickly took it from him. After reading it, he was slightly taken aback, and then he also looked solemn. Xia, Shaochan grabbed it. What? Fiery Mountain, a secret realm? Han Fei took a look and was slightly surprised. No wonder, Wenrin, you didn't let them go to the Fiery Mountain. So the Fiery Mountain was a secret realm? Sea beasts were rampant there, and almost all the special creatures in the level 2 fishery could be seen there. What they needed to do next was to enter the secret realm with the other 3 academies. Of course, it was not as simple as a trial. There were opportunities in the secret realm, but there was a key problem. The top 100 students of each academy could enter, but there were only 5 of them in their school. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan certainly couldn't go. This meant that there were only 5 people on their side, facing nearly 300 people from the other 3 academies. 5 versus 300, that was fine. But it was written on the brocade sachet that they had to be in the top 10, so that they were qualified to get the 4th brocade sachet. Xiao Zhan sneered. Top 10 is just the minimum requirement. My requirement for you is to be in the top 5. Luo Xiaobai asked, Top 5? Xiao Zhan said coldly, The 5 of you are in the same team. Is there a difference between a single person and a team? Luo Xiaobai nodded. This task was very important. Although they had won 100 consecutive victories in the Blue Sea arena, only one of the top 10 students of the 3 academies had come out. This time was different. Not only were they outnumbered, but they also had to enter the top 5. This meant that they had to be the strongest. Were the top 10 students of the 3 academies really weak? Not necessarily. At that time, a white-collar Su Yi led a team to injure Xia Shaochan and Zhang Xuanyu. She and Lu Rinquang were on par with the other party. If it weren't for Han Fei, even if they could win, it would be a narrow victory. Even so, they were still in the top 50 on average. Xiao Zhan immediately roared, Are you confident? Yes. Chapter 247. Xiao Zhan said, You only have 1 month to prepare for this trial. Han Fei, if it's not too much, you can teach Chu Jinan the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Although he has become a fishing master, his body is even weaker than a level 7 fisher. Take care of junior brother. No problem. Of course, it wasn't a problem. He had been to the library a lot. all the combat skills and classics of the Thug Academy were open to them. Why wouldn't he teach them? Wenrin, you also said, "Little Bai, take care of Ling Yuan these days. When Chu Jinnan's physique improves, he'll swap with Han Fei." Okay. Old Bai left. Xiao Zhan glanced at Lu Renkuang and Zhang Xuanyu one last time. You too. Hurry up and cultivate. He's still too weak. Lu Renkuang. Zhang Xuanyu. After Xiao Zhan left, Zhang Xuanyu smiled bitterly and said, "Not bad. I can already feel that I'm improving at a godly rate. Fei, tell me, how did you manage to break through so quickly even though you have a level 4 spiritual heritage?" Han Fei blinked and said, "Although it's still level 4, its level has improved a little." Everyone looked at Han Fei speechlessly. The latter's expression did not change. He thought to himself, "Aren't all of you growth-type spirit veins? Why are you looking at me?" Zhang Xuanyu shook his head, not wanting to talk to Han Fei. It was really tiring. He still had the cheek to call himself a low-grade spiritual vein. Lower your head. In the past, I should have known that this guy would lie with his eyes open. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Lu Renkuang's shoulder. "Fatty, now we are the only ones left." Lu Renkuang pushed Zhang Xuanyu's hand away. "At most, I will be able to break through in a few days." Zhang Xuanyu. An hour later, Han Fei went to Xiaozhan and asked for the method of copying jade slips. When he came back, only Chu Jinan was there. Everyone else was gone. Where are the others? Senior brother Han Fei, the senior brothers and senior sisters have gone to cultivate. Senior sister Luo left with Ling Yuan. I didn't see senior sister Xiao Chan. Han Fei looked at Chu Jinan up and down. Yes, your body can't continue to break through. With that, Han Fei threw the copied incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing to Chu Jinan. I'll give you a month to practice the 108 postures on this combat skill. Don't ask for small success, but you must complete it. Don't miss a single pose. Chu Jinan looked serious. Since the Thug Academy was so strong, their combat skills must be very powerful. Thus he nodded firmly. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei said solemnly, "Don't make a breakthrough before your physique is as strong as that of a junior fishing master. You need to eat your fill every day. What you need right now isn't just spiritual qi, but more energy. You need a large amount of energy to support your cultivation of this battle skill." With that said, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid and threw them over. With your current physique, you can only take a sip at a time. Follow me. Holding the jade slip and the iron fish body polishing fluid, Chu Jinan wondered if senior brother was the one who taught combat skills in the 4th Academy. However, he had seen Han Fei's battle. During the assessment, some people, including Xia Xiaochan, had lasted for 2 seconds. However, when facing Han Fei, no one had been able to last for more than 1 second. Han Fei took Chu Jinan to the cave where he usually cultivated and said solemnly, "I will come here to check once a day. If you encounter a movement that you can't complete, repeat the previous movements until you can continue the subsequent movements." Yes, senior brother. Han Fei left irresponsibly and strolled out of the school gate. Suddenly, Han Fei slightly leaned to the side and the instant knife appeared in his hand. Clank! Han Fei was speechless. "Xia Xiaochan, it's you again. Are you free?" Xia Xiaochan appeared from the stealth state and asked curiously, "I just made a breakthrough, so I can't stabilize my realm in a short time. What about you? Where are you going?" Han Fei put away the knife, looked at Xia Xiaochan in a traditional Chinese costume, and couldn't help swallowing. "I'm going to the Linglong Tower." Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. "Are you going to buy clothes?" Han Fei frowned. "What clothes? Can the clothes of the Linglong Tower be better than yours?" Xia Xiaochan replied, "I don't care. I'm going too. By the way, tie my hair rope." I don't know how to. Han Fei took the red ribbon hair rope from Xia Xiaochan's hand, grabbed her hair, and said while tying her hair, I'm going to buy some refining materials. But you don't go there for no reason. The Linglong Tower is a scam. Xia Xiaochan snorted. I have money. Han Fei didn't bother to talk. Where did you get your money? Isn't your money mine? Linglong Tower. As soon as Han Fei arrived, someone recognized him. It was not because Han Fei spent a lot of money in the Linglong Tower, but because the clothes designed by Han Fei were too beautiful. Of course, at this moment, no one looked at Han Fei at all. Everyone was staring at Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei looked helpless. When she walked all the way from the outside, Xia Xiaochan caused a sensation. In addition to her beautiful appearance, the clothes she was wearing were also very fashionable. Along the way, dozens of people ran up to ask where this clothes were made. Was it a new style of the Linglong Tower? Yu Ling, the great tailor of the Linglong Tower, rushed out as soon as she heard that Han Fei had come with gorgeous clothes. When she saw the clothes Xia Xiaochan was wearing, she couldn't calm down anymore, and her breathing became rapid. She couldn't wait to touch them. Yu Ling asked, Han Fei, are you selling this dress? Before Han Fei answered, Xia Xiaochan shook her head. No, I won't sell it. Han Fei nodded. Yes, I won't sell it. Yu Ling was very disappointed. After all, the Linglong Tower was a prestigious place. If they robbed her like the Black River Chamber of Commerce, their reputation would be ruined. Even so, this didn't stop Yu Ling from staring at Xia Xiaochan, as if trying to find inspiration from her clothes. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, I told you that you shouldn't have come. Look, you're being stared at like a jellyfish. Xia Xiaochan glared at Han Fei. You are a jellyfish. Your whole family are jellyfish. Han Fei was annoyed. We are here to buy things. What are you looking at? Where is your service attitude? Yu Ling smiled. What do you want to see this time? Han Fei asked. Do you have dragon tendons? Yu Ling. The waiters. They were all speechless. Are you *King crazy? Why don't you ask if there are dragon tendons? Why don't you ask if there are dragon meat? Yu Ling said, Brother Han Fei, don't joke like this. Han Fei snorted. Then do you have python tendons above level 40? Yu Ling looked at Han Fei with a complicated look. Han Fei, even if there are you sure you want to buy them? Han Fei looked around. Are you going to talk to me here? Yu Ling's face changed slightly, and her tone and demeanor changed. Please come with me. Han Fei and the curious Xia Xiaochan went upstairs to the 8th floor. Yu Ling explained, After all, the Blue Sea Town is just a town. There can't be anything particularly magical. However, we do have a few python tendons above level 40 in the Linglong Tower. However, their price is not cheap, even not cheaper than ordinary spiritual weapons. That's hundreds of thousands of mid-quality spiritual stones. Han Fei said, like a rich man, I know whether to buy them or not and how to buy them. You just need to show me. It was the first time that Han Fei had come to the upper floor of the Linglong Tower. Yu Ling explained that the 5th, 6th, and 7th floors were all magic treasure floors, and usually few people could afford them. As for the floors above the 7th floor, people might not come here even once in several months. Han Fei and the others came here for the first time this month. When they entered the 8th floor, Han Fei saw that half of the entire floor was weapons, and all of them were spiritual weapons. Some spiritual weapons, even placed in boxes, couldn't hide their brilliance. Han Fei noticed a long spear hanging on the 8th floor at first glance. Although Han Fei never used a spear, this spear didn't stop him from attracting his attention. The long spear was crimson, and from time to time he could see the shadow of a coiling dragon on the spear. The tip of the spear, which was brighter than a diamond, was shining no matter from which angle. This kind of brightness directly stimulated the eyes of every customer who came to the 8th floor. Yu Ling said with a smile, This red flame dragon spear is the treasure of the Linglong Tower, a high-quality spiritual weapon with a level 44 exotic creature. Red flame python, sealed inside. In front of it, ordinary weapons were like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Its price is only a mere 2 million mid-quality pearls. With the current financial resources of your fish dragons, you can also afford it. If you want to buy it, I can deduct 100,000 mid-quality pearls from you in private. Han Fei swallowed. He couldn't afford a ball at all. 2 million mid-quality pearls? Am I crazy? By this spear? Huh. Xia Shaochan had run to a cabinet and grabbed 2 daggers. Show. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Let go. Chapter 248. However, in the next moment, Han Fei immediately activated a spiritual energy protective cover and a cold light pierced straight at him. Crack! Buffed! Han Fei was already hiding. Xia Shaochan picked up the pair of knives. He knew what Xia Shaochan was going to do the moment he shoved her. At this moment, the spiritual energy protective cover on Han Fei's body was shattered, and his belly was severely injured. Shichit was cut by more than an inch. Xia Shaochan didn't even use her full strength. Han Fei said angrily, "Xia Shaochan, give me a dagger! Put the show back." As Han Fei waved his hand, the wound immediately stopped bleeding, and the skin quickly healed. Yuling was dumbfounded by this scene. "Aren't you all good classmates? Isn't this your girlfriend? Is this how you fall in love?" Yuling couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Young people these days really knew how to have fun. Even dating was so exciting. Xia Shaochan reluctantly put the dagger in her hand away. The show put it down. "How much is the show?" Yuling smiled and said, "That's a pair of lanpabai." The show was only an inferior grade spiritual weapon, and there were 2 rare crayfish above level 30 sealed in it. Obviously, it was much cheaper than the red fire dragon spear, only costing 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Think about it. Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei eagerly, and the latter blurted out, "No." Xia Shaochan snorted. "If you don't want to buy it, I will. I have by high." Han Fei's expression changed slightly, and he immediately said, "I'll make it for you when I get back." Xia Shaochan blinked her eyes slyly and said, "Forget it, I won't buy it. What the F asterisk CK show is just SO. I'm not interested." "Oh." At this time, Xia Xiaochan's voice sounded in his head. "How many blue sea wandering dragon bones can you refine?" "I just want 2. The more exquisite, the better." At that time, each of the 5 of them had a blue sea wandering dragon bone, but now they were all dead. However, they didn't know that refining weapons required spiritual energy. It wasn't easy for them to accumulate so much spiritual energy. So how could it be easy for them? Of course, the blue sea wandering dragon bones must not be exposed. Otherwise, wouldn't they be telling the Linglong Tower that they had found the body of the blue sea wandering dragon? The name of the blue sea town came from this blue sea wandering dragon. Han Fei took a deep breath. "I want to see the python tendon. Take it out." Yuling was a little surprised. Faced with so many treasures, Han Fei didn't look at them at all and only wanted the python tendon. Could it be that he really wanted to go back and refine it himself? However, thinking about it, it was possible. Maybe one of the 3 teachers of the 4th Academy wanted to refine weapons soon. 3 boxes were placed on the counter by the waiter. Among them, one was scarlet like fire, one was icy blue like jade, and one was black like glass. Han Fei raised his eyebrows, and information popped up in his eyes. The first one was the tendon of the red flame python, which was used to make the red flame dragon spear. Its characteristic was that it had an extremely high internal temperature and was extremely resistant to cold. The second one was the ice serpent. Its characteristics were similar to the blue sea wandering dragon bone. It was very cold and had a strong resistance to heat. The third one, to be precise, was not a python, but the tendon of a purple sand eel. Its characteristics were that it was extremely tough, but it contained a trace of sand poison. Han Fei directly skipped the first one. Just because it had ice and fire was not a good thing. When the two characteristics of cold and heat offset each other, even if a spiritual weapon was forged, it would only be an ordinary spiritual weapon. At least, Han Fei couldn't rely on the demon purification pot to gamble on this thing. As for the second ice serpent tendon, Han Fei hesitated and decided to give up. Was he going to freeze himself to death? Han Fei closed the box containing the red flame python tendon and the ice serpent tendon, pushed it back and patted the counter. How much is this? Yuling was slightly taken aback. Han Fei actually chose the tendon of the purple sand eel, which surprised her. Just from the looks alone, the other two were even more visually impactful than this one. Yuling took a deep look at Han Fei. You have a good eye. Han Fei quickly raised his hand. Stop. Don't flatter me or raise the price. I just bought it because it doesn't look good. Yuling was stunned. Why do you have so many tricks up your sleeve? Then why don't you choose the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent? It's only 200,000 mid-quality pearls. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. That's too much. The two daggers just now were only 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Is your tendon so expensive? Yes, it's too expensive. Yuling shook her head with a smile. The tendon of this purple sand eel is 300,000 mid-quality pearls. Its cold-resistant ability is not as good as the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent. However, it is very balanced and far more resilient than those two. 300,000 mid-quality pearls, no bargaining. Of course, if you want to exchange it for clothes. These three are free, and I can give them to you. Han Fei chuckled. No, but I can exchange it for other things. Doesn't your Linglong Tower accept treasures? Of course, if you can take out something of equal value, it's also possible. Han Fei opened his hand and a moon-watching pearl appeared. This was the only moon-watching eel they had caught in the level 2 fishery in the past 2 months. Because it was rare, the moon-watching pearl was definitely not cheap. Yuling exclaimed in surprise. Moon-watching pearl? I haven't seen this thing for a long time. However, it's not worth 300,000 mid-quality pearls. I can give you 50,000 mid-quality pearls. Han Fei took out another soul resistance pearl. What about this? Yuling glanced at Han Fei in surprise. Have you been to the piercing electricity zone? Not bad. It's very good that you can get a soul resistance pearl. However, its comprehensive evaluation is not as good as the moon-watching pearl. I will give you 40,000 mid-quality pearls. With a swish, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 soul resistance pearls at once. Is this enough? Yuling. Yuling felt a little ridiculous. Did you rob the piercing electricity zone? So many soul resistance pearls? Xia Shaochan said, don't sell them all. Leave 2 for Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. There are only 2 of them. When we went there were 5 of us. Han Fei replied, I know. There's still a dozen of them. It's not a big deal. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Then let's buy something else? No, this is not just for the 2 of us. There are 3 of them. It's not appropriate for us to use them all. You've used them. I haven't used them yet. Then why don't we exchange them for money? What do you like? You can buy it yourself. Xia Shaochan thought for a while. Forget it. We don't have sea-swallowing seashells. They take up too much space. Just make them for me. You just need to make the show. You can have my share. After chatting with Xia Shaochan, Han Fei counted 8 soul resistance pearls and gave them to Yuling. What about the moon-watching pearl? I only have 1 moon-watching pearl. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Yuling was speechless. So you just took it out to show off, didn't you? This is not the sea. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Han Fei put away the purple sand eel tendon and then asked casually, Do you have pills here? Yuling smiled. Of course, we have a lot. A lot? Do many people buy them? Yuling shook her head, helplessly. Few people you see on the street will buy them. However, those who go to the level 3 fishery will buy them. Many people in the level 3 fishery will buy them. What do you have? How much? Yuling clapped her hands, and soon someone came with a plate. Yuling swayed her body and smiled. The Linglong Tower doesn't sell low-quality pills. The worst quality is the spirit-rising pill. Han Fei quickly learned about the so-called pills and found that there were 3 main types. One was to quickly restore spiritual energy, one was to quickly heal injuries, and one was to quickly repair spiritual energy consumption. After reading it, Han Fei immediately lost interest. What the hell is this? They were not even as good as his divine healing technique. Besides, he didn't need the first and second types. As for the third type, he didn't know when it would be useful. Han Fei frowned. Only these? Yuling wondered. Are these not enough? Han Fei gestured. Are there any special kinds of pills? For example, to help you break through? To help you temper your bones? To widen your meridians? Yes, but very few. A spiritual pill that can temper your body costs at least 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Do you want to buy those? Yuling thought Han Fei wouldn't need those. After all, for most geniuses, they were reluctant to use pills to improve themselves. Although in theory the harm to the body was very small, they were still unwilling to do so. Besides, these kinds of pills were very expensive. When Han Fei heard that the starting price was 10,000, he thought to himself, bye-bye. Are you robbing me? Chapter 249. On the way back, Xia Shaochan asked curiously, Han Fei, did you learn to refine spiritual weapons because you had a special opportunity? Hush! Although this matter had been tacitly understood, Xia Shaochan still felt uncomfortable. God knows why Han Fei could even refine spiritual weapons. Han Fei lowered his voice and said, This is a secret. I won't tell ordinary people. Xia Shaochan responded in a low voice, I won't tell others either. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Actually, I have a master, a very powerful one. I haven't cultivated since I was 8 to 12 years old. I just learned these strange things from him. Afterwards, he finished preaching and left. After that, I began to cultivate. Xia Shaochan had heard about Han Fei's story. It was said that 2 months before the fishing trial, he was only a level 2 fisher. In 2 months, he reached level 7? Han Fei said, Don't tell others. Xia Shaochan thought that Han Fei had no reason to lie. Otherwise, he couldn't explain it. Xia Shaochan asked, Then where is your master now? Han Fei said solemnly, when he left, he said he was going to the infinite sea. I didn't know where it was, so I said I would go to the infinite sea to find him when I grew up. Who knew the infinite sea was so big? Xia Shaochan was a little confused. To the infinite sea? How capable does he have to be? The two of them whispered about this topic all the way. In the end, Han Fei managed to fool them. At the same time, he thought to himself, No, I have to find a way to learn refining techniques in the future. Otherwise, if I have to refine in front of others one day, I'll be exposed. Thug Academy. Han Fei took a look at Chu Jinan and found that this guy looked as if he had just been fished out of the water. However, he had only made 3 postures so far. Plop! When Chu Jinan saw Han Fei, he directly lay on the ground, panting. Senior brother. Han Fei pretended to be serious and said, Yes. Don't ask for fast, but steady. Continue to work hard. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei ran into a cave and secretly hid in Forge the Universe. The Supreme Dragon Chief had only used less than a third of it, but it had consumed a lot of spirit chi. He threw the dragon head, the purple sand eel, and the fire element crystal into the demon purification pot. The spiritual spring in Forge the Universe dropped another few centimeters. Han Fei estimated that it would cost at least 70,000 points of spiritual energy. Half an hour later, a white longbow appeared in front of Han Fei. Data appeared in his eyes. Name: Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bow Introduction, forged from the bone of the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. The bow has the intent of extreme coldness, and the string has the sound of breaking souls. When the string is broken, it will turn into purple sand and reform the bowstring. Low-grade, spiritual, weapon soulless, recastable, unrefined in terms of quality. It was almost the same as the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. The main difference was that the bow was larger and required more materials than the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. Therefore, the amount of spiritual chi consumed was relatively higher. If the string was broken, it would turn into purple sand. Could it be reformed? Doesn't that mean that this string will never break? Han Fei held the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow and played with it a few times. He pulled the bow, and the bowstring was pulled into a half arc with the force of 1,000 pounds. As spiritual energy was injected into it, a spiritual arrow appeared. Han Fei tried many times and found that the basic cost of the arrow was 200 points of spiritual energy. Less than this number, the arrow couldn't be condensed. Bam! The arrow was shot out and blasted a big pit on the ground with great power. Han Fei put away the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow with a smile and reappeared in the cave. Seeing that the cave was still closed, he walked out. While walking, he hummed a tune. With a snap of his fingers, dozens of Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers appeared. Then, the number increased one by one. When the number increased to 15, some Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers fell to the ground. Han Fei tried several times and finally found that he could only control 12 Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers at the same time. While Han Fei was humming, he saw a vine emerging from the ground. Swish, swish, swish. The vine was cut into 7 or 8 pieces in the blink of an eye. Han Fei asked, "Xiao Bai, why did you learn from Xia Shaochan?" Han Fei looked up and found that Luo Xiaobai and Ling Yuan were hanging on the tree. Yes, many big trees were strung up by vines, and Ling Yuan was lying on a vine, panting. "Yo, what is this style? Why don't you practice on the ground? Why are you doing these fancy things on the tree?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Train." Han Fei couldn't figure out what kind of training method this was, so he shook his head. "Then continue. I'm going back to the treehouse to sleep." "Okay." Then Han Fei whistled and walked leisurely to the treehouse. The 12 daggers around him were put into various shapes from time to time, sometimes as a shield, sometimes as a hole, and sometimes as a spiral. Han Fei found that the million knife art had so many uses, but unfortunately it was extremely difficult to control. His spiritual power should not be bad, right? But he could only control 12 daggers. Ling Yuan wondered, "Senior sister, is senior brother Han Fei so leisurely?" Luo Xiaobai replied, "You only saw his lazy look, but you haven't seen what he looks like when he really fights. My vine array can't suppress him at all." Ling Yuan looked at Han Fei's back and couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. Luo Xiaobai was too strong, but she could easily beat her in the same realm as Han Fei. Then what about Han Fei? Could she hold on for 5 minutes in his hands? In the treehouse, Han Fei was wholeheartedly visualizing the god's scaring painting. Half a month passed just like that. In addition to eating, he slept. In the past half a month, Chu Jinnan's physique had risen sharply, from a level 7 fisher's physique to a level 9 peak level. Of course, it was still far from his own realm, but this didn't prevent his strength from growing rapidly, far faster than Ling Yuan's. Of course, Ling Yuan had also broken through from a level 9 peak level to a junior fishing master. In terms of the comprehensive combat power of the two sides, Ling Yuan was stronger than Chu Jinnan. Nearly a month later, Han Fei suddenly perked up. He had memorized the second piece of the map. At the moment he successfully remembered it, his spiritual perception suddenly expanded to a range of 50 meters, directly reaching a perception range of 100 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei sat up with a strange look. Isn't this too fast? At this moment, Han Fei felt that his thoughts were very clear, and some things that he couldn't figure out before seemed to be straightened out. This seemed to be because his perception had been strengthened. Even if Han Fei looked at an ordinary piece of wood, he could see the fine grain on the wood grain, which gave him a sense of beauty created by nature. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon daggers floated in the air. To Han Fei's surprise, this time there were 20 daggers floating in the air, letting the daggers surround him. He didn't feel as obscure as before. This scene made Han Fei tremble all over. This God-scaring painting could actually improve people's spiritual power? Han Fei's breathing became rapid. If he kept practicing the God-scaring painting, he would only be closer and closer to the real million knife art. Imagine, what would it be like to be surrounded by 10,000 daggers? However, after a while, Han Fei smiled bitterly. In this month, he could only remember a small piece of the God-scaring painting, but there were 1,000 pieces. Even if he did nothing but focused on practicing the God-scaring painting, it would take him more than 80 years. Forget it. It's good enough that my spiritual power can grow. Let's take it one step at a time. What Han Fei didn't know was that if his thoughts were known by others, they would probably smash his head. Even Bai Kongi would be amazed if his spiritual perception increased by 50 meters in a month. Han Fei got up and went to the cave. When he arrived at the cave, he found that Xia Shaochan was standing here and commanding. Okay, don't suppress your realm anymore. Make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan looked back. Well, I've done all 108 postures. I can't suppress it anymore. Han Fei nodded. Then make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan suddenly exclaimed, Huh? Why do I feel that you are a little different? Han Fei smiled. Am I more handsome? Xia Shaochan said thoughtfully, Humph, don't be so smug. Let's go and cook. Let's go. Chapter 250. At dinner time, Han Fei prepared a table full of dishes. 10 people sat around the table, talking and laughing. Xiao Zhan said, although Chu Jinnan's physique is still a little weak, it's much better than when he first came in. Not bad. Chu Jinnan replied, Thank you, teacher. Thank you, senior brother Han Fei. This is the effect of the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body tempering. Xiao Zhan, yes. Just thank your senior brother Han Fei. This combat skill is unique to him. Chu Jinan was stunned. Isn't this the combat skill of the school? Chu Jinan hurriedly wanted to thank Han Fei, but Han Fei curled his lips. Stop it. Let's eat. Luo Xiaobai said, Ling Yuan should have learned from you. However, I saw that Chu Jinan had been cultivating, so I didn't look for you. In the future, Old Bai said leisurely, You really have to wait for the future. Tomorrow, Xiao Zhan will take you out to sea. Han Fei and the others were all stunned. I've been back for more than a month, and I'm finally going out to sea again? When Xiao Zhan wasn't in class, he was always smiling. At this moment, he smiled and said, Tomorrow, the top 100 students of the 4 academies will set off for the Flame Mountain. Prepare yourselves. This time, your target is the top 5. Lu Renquang muttered, Isn't it the top 10? Wen Rinyu threw a little white shrimp on Lu Renquang's head. That's the bottom line. Zhang Xuanyu asked, What's the rule for the top 5? Are we fighting for the first place in the Blue Sea Town? Bai Kongi sneered. Fight for first place? What they were fighting for was a qualification. All you need to know is that this is a real life and death match. However, it was best not to kill if possible. Although we're not on good terms with the 3 academies, those who can enter the fiery mountain this time are the backbone of the younger generation of the Blue Sea Town. Of course, if someone wants to surround and kill you, then you don't have to hold back. Kill whoever comes. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan felt their blood freeze when they heard that. They did not know what kind of place the Flame Mountain was. However, The elites of the three academies had all come out, and they were even allowed to kill each other, just to fight for a qualification. Han Fei asked leisurely, "Is there a reward?" Bai Kongyi chuckled. "What kind of rewards are you talking about?" The blazing mountain was full of opportunities. "If you want the reward, go get it yourself." Wenren Yu added, "Don't think that you're the only ones who have fated opportunities." Which student who could enter the top 100 of the various academies didn't have any fortuitous encounters? The ocean was an endless treasure trove, and there were too many opportunities in it. You have to know that you should take opportunities when you can, and give up when you can't. This is the lesson that countless people have learned with their lives. Xia Shaochan asked, "Teacher, how about the piercing electricity zone and the deep-sea jungle?" Wenren Yu smirked. "Almost." Xia Shaochan was relieved, but she didn't notice the cunning gleam in Wenren Yu's eyes. Seeing this scene, Han Fei frowned. Was there something else? The next day, at dawn, the 5 of them had breakfast and followed Xiao Zhan out. At the school gate, Ling Yuan looked at the back of the crowd and asked, "Teacher, where is the Flame Mountain? Is it dangerous?" Wenren Yu said lightly, "You are not qualified to know. When you become a great fishing master, ask me again." Ling Yuan trembled. A great fishing master? It felt like it was still very far away. Chu Ji Nan was still waving at their backs, but Wenren Yu blocked his sight. "From today on, you two start to practice together and try to become intermediate fishing masters before they come back." Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder and said, "Fei Fei, do you think the Flame Mountain will be very hot? Do we have to carry the dragon bones on our backs to prevent being burned to death?" Han Fei sneered. "If you are burned to death, the 3 academies will probably be burned to the ground. We won't even have a chance to explore it." Lu Rinquang secretly touched the ground. "Do we have enough barbecue?" Xia Shaochan complained. "Are you stupid? How can we eat it underwater?" Lu Rinquang said, "Just a few bites." Luo Xiaobai said, "Okay, stop it. There are 305 people entering the Flame Mountain this time, including us. The competition for opportunities inside must be very fierce." Xiao Zhan walked in front, listening to the 5 of them whispering, and chuckled in his heart. "You can talk now. You can't have such a good time. They didn't meet the 3 academies. Maybe Han Fei and the others came a little early. So they set off for the Flame Mountain first. Because Han Fei's white fishing boat was very fast, when they arrived at the Flame Mountain, there was still no one on the vast sea. Han Fei's eyes lit up. No one is here yet. I guess they won't come for a few hours. Shall we have another hot pot?" Lu Rinquang rubbed his hands. Okay, we can't just wait for them, right?" Xia Shaochan nodded. "I don't mind. But this time let's change the taste. Isn't it said that most of the rare creatures in the level 2 fishery gather here in the Flame Mountain?" Han Fei plunged the hook into the sea. After a while, as he raised the rod, a red lobster more than 5 meters long broke out of the water. The moment the lobster came out of the water, 2 phantoms of pincers, tens of meters long, instantly clamped at Han Fei. Bam! Bam! With 2 punches of spiritual energy, the pincers were shattered and the lobster flopped on the deck, clinging to the deck with its melon seeds. Before it attacked again, Lu Rinquang plunged a knife into its head. Lu Rinquang smacked his lips. "Shall we eat lobster hot pot this time?" Han Fei shook his head. "Let's try something new this time. Lobster in sauce." After a full hour, when Han Fei and the others were having a good time, they saw hundreds of fishing boats descending from the sky above their heads. The people from the 3 academies came. The 3 presidents led the team in person, and the heavenly talents of the 3 academies were all dumbfounded when they saw the scene on the sea. "Are they from the 4th academy? Just 5 people? And they're still eating and drinking here," someone swallowed. "It smells so good." Someone stared at the 5 of them with excitement in his eyes. They had heard that the Thug Academy was full of geniuses, but they were not convinced. They had never fought them before. Why would they be convinced? On a fishing boat, a boy in white said solemnly, "Attention if there are less than 10 people. Run away if you encounter this group of people." "Hey, Suyabai, when did you become so timid?" Suyabai was the one who fought with Han Fei in the Blue Sea Arena. Although he was a manipulator, he was ranked 8th on the top 100 list of the 3 academies in the Blue Sea town. Suyabai sneered. "You can try to mess with them." Because he had fought them before, Suyabai knew the strength of these people very well. At that time, Han Fei and the others were only junior great fishing masters. What about now? At a glance, none of them seemed to be weaker than him. "Xiao Zhan, why isn't Old Bai here?" Su Tianji, the president of the Second Academy, sneered. He didn't like Old Bai. Seeing that the Fourth Academy only sent Xiao Zhan here, he couldn't help but look down on him. Xiao Zhan looked at him with a smile. "I don't think the president needs to come in person for such a trivial matter," Wu Junwei scoffed. "How dare you? Xiao Zhan, do you think you are qualified to be on an equal footing with us?" Xiao Zhan stretched out his hand, and a spear made of spiritual energy appeared. Swish! The spear was thrown, and wherever it passed, the waves burst, the sea was torn apart, and the spear was surrounded by waves. Wu Junwei's face changed drastically, and she drew out a long sword from her back. Her momentum seemed to be no less than that of Xiao Zhan's spear. Boom! A semicircular pit, tens of meters in diameter, appeared on the surface of the water. The spear disappeared, and Wu Junwei's long sword was knocked away. All the students were dumbfounded, including the students on the top 100 list of the 3 academies. They all took a breath. Too strong. They couldn't resist such a powerful attack at all. Wu Junwei frowned and was extremely shocked. Has Xiao Zhan become so strong? Xiao Zhan was still smiling. How about it? Am I qualified enough? At this moment, they were almost done eating. The big lobster had already been half eaten. Zhang Xuanyu asked, "How are we going to block this attack?" Xia Shaochan responded, "Only a fool would block it. Just dodge it." Luo Xiaobai muttered, "Death substitute." Lu Renquang said, "If all the shields work together, we should be able to block it." Zhang Xuanyu, "Am I the only one who can't block it?" "But that's right, I just have to hide. I have the golden water silkworm. It's fast." Han Fei agreed. "No, just run." Xiao Zhan had proven his strength. Then he threw a flame-shaped token to each of them. Xiao Zhan replied, "This is a fiery mountain token. Everyone who goes down gets one. Snatch it for me, the more the better." Chapter 251. Han Fei played with the fiery mountain token in his hand and squeezed it hard, only to find that it was as hard as iron and far harder than ordinary weapons. "Teacher, is this a magic weapon?" Xiao Zhan said, "It's not a magic treasure, but it can be used as a key. As for the specifics, you will know when you go down. Remember, there are many fortuitous encounters in the Blazing Mountain. Don't try to obtain all of them. That's impossible. Every time the Blazing Mountain opened, it could only remain open for a maximum of 7 days. If you don't come out after 7 days, you'll have to wait for another 3 years. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise. The Fiery Mountain is a closed secret realm. Xiao Zhan nodded. Yes. In history, no one had ever come out of the Blazing Mountain when it opened. In other words, if you don't come out in 7 days, you'll definitely die. The 5 of them were shocked. 7 days, only 7 days? Lu Renquang was stunned. "Teacher, what if someone is waiting for us at the exit?" Xiao Zhan replied, "Don't worry. There are many exits in the Blazing Mountain, all suspended in midair. They can block 1 or 2, but they can't block 5 or 6. Lu Renquang quickly patted his chest and took a long breath. "I was so scared. I thought there was only 1 exit. Otherwise, it would be terrible." At this moment, Chu Mingxue, the president of the Third Academy, said, "We have no time to lose. It doesn't matter if Xiao Zhan or Old Bai comes. Since everyone is here, let's begin." Wu Junwei, "I'm fine with it." Su Tianji, "Any time." Xiao Zhan, "As you wish." Then Xiao Zhan said to the five of them, "This is the first time you've faced death since you came to the academy. No one will be your escort this time. Life and death are up to fate. Come out alive." The five of them nodded. There was still a long way to go. If they couldn't even pass this test, how could they talk about sweeping the 36 towns? In the next moment, the deans of the three academies and Xiao Zhan stepped onto the surface of the sea almost at the same time. Each of them held a red token in their hands. However, unlike the fiery mountain tokens in Han Fei's hands, the tokens in Xiao Zhan's hands had phantoms, which were complex array patterns. The four halos stacked on top of each other, and in an instant, the waves surged into the sky. 100-meter tall water gate rose from the water. In the middle of the water gate, a whirlpool was slowly forming. All the students were watching this scene intently. However, Luo Xiaobai said to everyone telepathically, "Attention, we'll go in first. Lie in ambush and snatch a batch of fiery mountain tokens as soon as possible." Everyone was stunned. Was this Luo Xiaobai? How did this girl suddenly become so sinister? Are they starting to play tactics? Luo Xiaobai seemed to know what they were thinking. Our purpose is not only to find opportunities, but also to grab a batch of fiery mountain tokens. By then, we'll have the most fiery mountain tokens. At that time, there would definitely be people who would risk their lives to snatch it. There's no need for us to look for them. There will be an endless stream of fiery mountain tokens. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. "I really pity those people. We haven't even started, but we've already been tricked." Xia Shaochan echoed. "I think Xiao Bai's idea is very good. Since we can snatch it, why not?" "I have no problem with that," Lu Rinquang replied. "It doesn't matter even if I have opinions. But let's do it." A moment later, a whirlpool formed. A black whirlpool with a radius of 20 meters appeared in the 100-meter tall giant wave. Luo Xiaobai shouted, "Let's go!" Almost in an instant, a vine appeared on the waists of the four of them. At this moment, the vine lifted up and threw the four of them directly into the whirlpool. Not only the four of them, but a large number of students also used their own skills. Some ran wildly in the air, some walked in the air, some held bows, some paved bridges with spiritual plants, some controlled water to make ladders, and some imitated Luo Xiaobai's methods for a time. All kinds of fancy combat skills appeared. Although this was just the beginning, the whirlpool was hanging at an altitude of 40 or 50 meters. If you didn't have the ability, you wouldn't even be able to enter the gate, let alone snatch opportunities in the secret realm. In midair, the four of them had already reached the edge of the whirlpool, and there were at least 20 people with them. Lu Rinquang shouted, "1,000 blade slash!" In an instant, 1,000 knives were waved, causing a burst of curses from behind. "Asshole, these lunatics from the Thug Academy, we haven't even started yet!" "Damn, after we get in, let's beat them up." Someone shouted, "After we get in, let's join hands and fight the Thug Academy first." At this moment, Han Fei stepped on the vortex and felt a huge suction force. He hurriedly gathered spiritual energy with his other leg and forcibly broke free from the vortex. At the same time, he suddenly pulled Luo Xiaobai up. In that instant, at least 7 or 8 arrows pierced through the air. Since the Thug Academy is blocking our way, don't blame us for being rude. However, to their surprise, dozens of long sabers had appeared in the air at some point. At this moment, all the arrows around Luo Xiaobai were crushed. In the blink of an eye, all of this happened in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the 5 of them gathered. In the blink of an eye, Lu Rinquang sheathed his knife, and so did Han Fei. The 5 of them allowed the vortex to swallow them, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the vortex. Damn it. Outside the door, there were still people cursing, but no one attacked each other because there was no reason. What could a few hundred opponents do now? Could he get the Fiery Mountain token? Of course, their speed was also slower than Han Fei's. Han Fei only felt that his body was spinning, as if he had entered a big vortex a little out of control. When his body stopped spinning, Han Fei wanted to send a voice transmission to the others. However, when he looked back, where were they? F***CK. Where's the ambush? Why are they all gone? Han Fei realized that Luo Xiaobai's thinking was too simple. She thought that after passing through the vortex, the 5 of them would still be together, but the result was obviously not like this. The location where they appeared in the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain was random. The reason why he was so sure was that not only did Han Fei not see Luo Xiaobai and the others, but there was no vortex behind him at all. The area where he was very calm. Confirming this, and knowing that the ambush had failed, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. He had been too optimistic just now. He looked around and found that this was a mountain, and the mountain rocks and the ground were covered with ancient and withered corals. There were pieces of shells on the ground, schools of fish swimming 100 meters above his head, seaweed floating dozens of meters around, and several dragon-headed fish wandering. In the distance it was blurry, but there seemed to be a very high mountain. Han Fei also found that the water temperature here was 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. This made Han Fei a little confused. There was no sunlight here. Was it the temperature of the underground volcano? No. Han Fei found that the visibility in this space was very high. How could there be such a high visibility without a light source? Before Han Fei could think too much, he saw 2 dragon-headed fish rushing at him. Idiot, are you stupid? I just came in and you came to hit me. Are you crazy? Little Black and Little White appeared. Little Black jumped out in the blink of an eye, and Han Fei also had 2 long knives in his hands. At the moment when the dragon-headed fish hit him, Han Fei leaned to the side and plunged a knife into the fish's head. With a slash, the dragon-headed fish was cut into 2 pieces. After chopping these 2 iron-headed fish, Han Fei jumped into the pile of rocks and saw a creature moving under the soil. When the underwater creature broke out of the soil, Han Fei's eyes widened when he saw its round, lid-like skull and scissor-like tail. Horseshoe worm? Han Fei was speechless. This thing had a history of hundreds of millions of years, and the horseshoe worm he saw now was particularly large, at least 2 or 3 meters long. If there were horseshoe worms here, would there be trilobites? It was something that could be found in ancient fossils, of course. The data in Han Fei's eyes was different. Name three-eyed terror lobster. Introduction. A creature that has survived for countless years. It has a hard carapace, strong vitality, and super adaptability. It likes sand and will only hunt when needed. It is very loyal to its partner. The third eye has the ability to see through ordinary illusions. Level 30, quality rare, contained spiritual energy greater than 2,432 points. Edible effect. Inedible, collectible white eye stone, absorbable. Chapter 252. Then, more and more sand arched up, and many horseshoe beetles emerged. Unlike the first one, most of the horseshoe beetles that appeared later were a large horseshoe beetle with a smaller horseshoe beetle on its back. Han Fei knew that the larger one was female and the smaller one was male. This was why horseshoe beetles were very loyal to their partners. Once the male and female horseshoe beetles became a couple, they would be inseparable. However, Han Fei always felt that this kind of creature was scary, mainly because it looked a bit scary. Of course, this kind of creature was actually edible, either roasted or fried. However, eating too much of it didn't seem to be good for the human body. After all, it was poisonous. However, looking at these horseshoe beetles that were several meters long, Han Fei had no appetite. I'll eat your sister? They look so scary. How can I eat them? While Han Fei was observing these horseshoe beetles, there was a sudden fluctuation 100 meters away, and a young man suddenly appeared in the air. At this moment, a bubble suddenly popped up on Han Fei's side. Han Fei was stunned. I didn't let out any air. The young man had just calmed down and was naturally taken aback when he saw a large number of bubbles popping up. But as soon as he looked over, another bubble popped up on the other side. Han Fei was also surprised. Didn't these bubbles come out from the sand? When Han Fei looked back, he saw a disc-like plant behind him, which was covered with dense little bubbles. Name: Bubble Algae Introduction, unique seaweed of the fiery mountain, which can filter air from seawater. Level 7, quality, regular, spiritual energy, greater than 82 points, edible effect, none, collectible air, absorbable. Han Fei blinked his eyes. Could the seaweeds here have oxygen? Good heavens! No wonder no one worried about breathing when they came in. It turned out that there were a lot of bubble algae here. While Han Fei was thinking, a bubble algae popped out of the air in the open space not far away. The young man 100 meters away also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, when he saw the horseshoe beetles that were gnawing on the iron-head fish on the quagmire, he immediately tensed up. Those horseshoe beetles were eating the fish, but the fish was thought to be killed. Without thinking, he suddenly waved the long sword on his back. However, would Han Fei give him a chance? You didn't run at first, but now you want to run? The young man felt that his feet were entangled by the fishing line and subconsciously waved his sword. However, when the sword slashed out, the fishing line seemed to have eyes and actually dodged it. The youth's expression suddenly changed, and spiritual energy immediately gushed out. But at this time, several blue sea wandering dragon daggers had been shot to his hilt. Buzz! The young man immediately fused with his spiritual beast, which was a green snake. Han Fei felt that the fishing line was loosened and the other party broke free. When the young man saw someone swimming over, he understood what was going on. In an instant, his giant tail swept over. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Green snake eel? As expected, none of the students who could enter the top 100 of the academy were simple. In just a few seconds, the young man broke free from his fishing line. Puff, puff, puff! Dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers darted out instantly and cut the green snake's tail into pieces. The young man looked solemn. The moment the snake tail was shattered, the long sword in his hand carried a huge amount of spiritual energy and charged at Han Fei. Hey! Clang! The youth spat out a mouthful of blood. In a head-on battle, even Zhang Xuanyu and Lurin Quang were no match for Han Fei, let alone him. Hand over your fiery mountain token, and I'll spare your life. Han Fei stood quietly in front of the young man and stretched out a hand. Are you Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There were too few people in the 4th Academy. It was hard for the young man not to know him. The young man smiled dejectedly. While throwing out a fiery mountain token, he swam quickly. Han Fei curled his lips. I didn't say I was going to kill you. Why are you running so fast? Han Fei threw the fiery mountain token into Forge the Universe. Then he swam unhurriedly to the hazy mountain. He was thinking, since this mountain is so conspicuous, will there be no opportunities? He didn't swim for long, probably less than 10,000 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei, who was swimming, made a weird dodging movement, and what passed by his body was a silver-white light. Is it not a human? Han Fei's face changed slightly. A fish that can become invisible. He stood still and was perceiving the nearby water. Immediately, he found 2 blurred figures swimming near him. Little Hay immediately leaped out. Invisibility might be useful for others, but it didn't matter to Little Black. It bit out a cloud of blood mist in the water, very accurately. When one of them swam towards Han Fei cut through the seawater with a knife in his hand and cut off half of the invisible fish's body. However, the fish was still running. Running? You think too much. He took out his fishing rod, and the hook was like a water vein, tying up the invisible fish in the blink of an eye. Han Fei cut the invisible fish's head. Only then did the fish reveal its true body. This was a fish with jelly-like, plain-colored scales. Name, Phantom Fish Introduction. Turn the scales into water armor and attack the prey. At the moment of attack, the scales open and turn into sharp blades that can cut weapons below the mystic level. There is a phantom bead in the fish's head, which can strengthen the soul. Level 27, quality, rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 633 points. Edible effect, none. Collectible phantom bead. Absorbable. Han Fei raised his knife, and a transparent bead the size of a fingernail appeared. He swallowed the bead without hesitation. It was cool in his mouth and turned into a stream of cold air as soon as it entered his stomach, rushing straight to the top of his head. It's a little comfortable. Over there, Little Black had bitten 2 phantom fish to death. Han Fei was not in a hurry. After absorbing the spiritual energy from the phantom fish, he ate the phantom bead. After eating 5 phantom beads in a row, Han Fei suddenly found that his spiritual perception range seemed to have increased by about half a meter. At that moment, Han Fei was shocked. He lay in the treehouse and meditated for a month to decipher the god-scaring painting, only to gain an increase of 50 meters in his perception range. As a result, these phantom fish could increase their perception range by such a large amount. Then, with only 1,000 phantom fish, wouldn't he be able to increase his perception range by another 100 meters? Good place. This place is simply wonderful. Han Fei swam slowly along the way, hunting phantom fish by the way. In just half an hour, his spiritual perception range had increased by 10 meters. This made him very happy. Maybe because Han Fei hunted too many phantom fish. Half an hour later, Han Fei felt the water ahead shaking. He saw the sea was surging. Fuck! Han Fei sensed a large school of phantom fish. The speed of the phantom fish was not slow. When Han Fei realized it, these fish had already entered within 100 meters. Attach! This was the first time that the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had attached a body to fight after it advanced to the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. The 9 chains, as if they were real, were lashed out. Around Han Fei, 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers were spinning like diamonds. BM, BM, BM. However, it only took 2 minutes for Han Fei's million knife art to be broken. 5 minutes, the 7-star chain was tied up by a huge school of fish, and it became more and more difficult to swing it. 8 minutes, Han Fei's spiritual energy protective cover was broken. At this moment, Han Fei seemed to have returned to the scene when he was attacked by countless bonefish on the hexagon starfish. Clang, clang, clang. Han Fei was knocked flying all the way. There were too many phantom fish, and in the blink of an eye, dozens of knives slashed at his body. After a while, Han Fei was covered by these endless knife lights. F*CK. F*CKU. Han Fei struggled out of the school of fish, his clothes tattered and his body full of scratches. At this moment, before running away, he used the 9 chains to pick up dozens of phantom fish and stuffed them into Forge the Universe. Han Fei activated the Wandering Dragon art at full speed and began to escape frantically. Go up the mountain? Let's run first. In just a few minutes, he had been hit at least 1,000 times. Wasn't the million knife art fierce enough? Wasn't the 9-star chain strong enough? Mao Yong didn't face the dense phantom fish. Unless Han Fei really had 10,000 knives, he was still a piece of cake. At this moment, Han Fei's body was bleeding from dozens of places. Although he didn't bleed much, at least his defense was broken. No matter how small the wound was, it was still an injury. 8 or 10 wounds were nothing. But what about hundreds or thousands of wounds? While running, the 9-star chain was waving. Sometimes, like a long sword, it could pierce through 5 or 6 phantom fish at a time. But Han Fei also found one thing. Were the phantom fish too fast, or was he too slow? He couldn't increase the distance. Is the Wandering Dragon art not fast enough? Chapter 253. Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In fact, it was not the first time that Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In the ordinary fishery and the level 1 fishery, this speed was indeed fast, but at that time there was no comparison. Ever since he caught exotic creatures with Luo Xiaobai and the others in the level 2 fishery, Han Fei had felt it. None of them was slower than him, even if he used the wandering dragon art. However, on second thought, the wandering dragon art was only a mortal level divine quality combat skill deduced from 1,000 points of spiritual energy. Although he was already a great fishing master, he was not bad. However, when he was chased by the phantom fish, Han Fei found that he couldn't get rid of these phantom fish no matter how hard he tried. Do I have to use little gold? Han Fei frowned slightly. He didn't plan to expose little gold now. Who knew if others would see it? However, Han Fei didn't panic. Although the wandering dragon art couldn't get rid of these phantom fish, it always kept a distance of 7 or 8 meters. Even if a few fast phantom fish rushed up occasionally, they were no match for Little Black. So, a strange scene appeared in the secret realm of the fiery mountain. A person was swimming at full speed, but there was nothing behind him, only the rolling water. After only half an hour, Han Fei saw a boy he didn't know killing a few horseshoe crabs. The man was still struggling. Horseshoe crabs were level 30 creatures. It was already difficult for him to deal with a few of them at the same time. When the man saw Han Fei swimming towards him crazily, he was shocked. Is he coming for me? Huh? Han Fei? The boy's eyes almost popped out. Did I offend you? I'm killing my 3-eyed crayfish. Why are you running towards me? Immediately, the boy stopped fighting and began to slip away. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. Although we both slip away, I have thousands of troops. How can I be the same as you? Han Fei immediately said to him via voice transmission, the one in front, give me your fiery mountain token, and I let you go. The man responded, Han Fei, don't go too far. I didn't offend you. If you really push me too hard, I'll fight you to the death. Han Fei shook his head. Just from your words, I know you're a man. Fine, I'll fight it out with you. The person in front was scared out of his wits. Why are you so King honest? I'm just messing with you, okay? Was there a need to risk his life? Although Han Fei's speed was not as fast, he was at least a little faster than the one in front. Although the wandering dragon art was only a mortal grade combat skill, it was a divine grade combat skill. It wasn't enough to compete with the top, but it was more than enough to compete with the bottom. Seeing that Han Fei was getting closer and closer to him, the man turned around and shot a spiritual energy arrow at Han Fei's face. Bang! Han Fei smashed the spiritual energy arrow with a punch and continued to say, How dare you take an arrow from me? The man in front looked back and his face turned green. Han Fei was swimming while drawing his bow. Xiao! The boy in front of him cried. He turned around and shot 3 arrows, but none of them could break Han Fei's arrow. Wait, the arrow was skewed? The young man was dumbfounded. Did I just waste the spiritual energy of 3 arrows? Han Fei didn't draw the bow anymore. Just now, when he pulled the bow, dozens of ghost fish slashed at him, causing more wounds to appear on his body, which had just recovered. The young man asked, Han Fei, what do I have to do to make you stop? It's a waste of time for you to chase me like this. Give me your fiery mountain token, or I will chase you until I die. I can take you down in, at most, half an hour. Think about it yourself. The young man was speechless. How could he be so unlucky? As soon as he came in, he met such a silly guy. The key was that he was at least one of the top 50 masters. With a swish, a red token was thrown out, and the young man cursed, Here you go. Han Fei, don't be so rude. We'll meet again in the future. Han Fei smiled. Okay, since you're so generous, I won't embarrass you. Let's go. Han Fei took the fish, turned a corner, and ran in another direction. Before coming, Xiaozhan said that although this place was dangerous, it was best not to kill people deliberately. Han Fei felt that there was no need to kill people. These were the elites of the Blue Sea town, and they had no grudge against him, so there was no need to kill them. If he really chased them with the ghost fish, needless to say, the guy in front of him would definitely not be able to resist. Even he might not be able to resist them, let alone him. The 9-star chain behind Han Fei was still weaving and swinging, and more than hundreds of ghost fish had died under the 9-star chain and Little Black's hands. Ghost fish brothers, don't be so stubborn, right? Can't you just chase me for a while? Why are you so stubborn? Han Fei was speechless. These ghost fish were like fools. I just killed a few hundred of your brothers. Why have you been chasing me until now? Swimming and running all the way. Han Fei found that the secret realm of the fiery mountain was very large, at least 1,000 kilometers in radius. After running for a long time, including the young man before, Han Fei only met 3 people in total, and he had swum at least 200 kilometers. That thing. Piercing electricity jellyfish? Han Fei was very surprised. He saw a large number of piercing electricity jellyfish. At this moment, these jellyfish were surrounding their friends and releasing little lightning to play. Along the way, all the fish that Han Fei encountered ran away, except for these piercing electricity jellyfish, which didn't run fast. Without thinking, Han Fei immediately put away Little Black, Little White, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and rushed over. Wasn't it just a few electric shocks? How many times had he been electrocuted? How many times had he been electrocuted? After a moment, buzz, 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 Han Fei. Dollar. Han Fei's body was covered with piercing electricity jellyfish. Oh my God! He had become a humanoid generator. At this moment, Han Fei was so shocked that his eyes almost rolled back and his whole body was trembling. Han Fei was still wondering if he could still lose weight after being electrocuted in this situation. Of course, this was a digression. The main thing was that the group of ghost fish were no longer ghosts after being electrocuted. A large number of ghost fish were electrocuted and floated up, belly up. They didn't have Han Fei's terrifying resistance. They were just fish, and their mouths were full of water. Han Fei found that the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were much more visible. Although they still looked a bit like a puddle of water to the naked eye, at least they were visible and could emit electric currents from time to time. While twitching, Han Fei tried to pounce on the ghost fish. One after another, the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were collected into Forge the Universe by Han Fei. In total, he had collected thousands of ghost fish. Han Fei activated a spiritual energy protective cover and then burst out his spiritual energy. Boom! A group of piercing electricity jellyfish was shattered by Han Fei, and the latter hurriedly ran away. Those piercing electricity jellyfish chased after him, but unfortunately, slow speed was their natural disadvantage. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei disappeared. Inside Forge the Universe, Han Fei cut off the fish heads one by one and threw the ghost beads into his mouth one by one. Han Fei was very excited. It had only been less than 2 hours since he came in, but his spiritual perception range had increased a lot. Han Fei didn't know how many ghost beads he had swallowed. When his perception range reached 200 meters, it couldn't increase anymore, and the ghost beads lost their effect. The point was that he still had more than 300 ghost beads at the moment. Phew, that's enough. It's just 2 hours. It's worth 2 months of meditation. I've made a fortune. Han Fei suddenly appeared on a stone. Looking around, there was no movement. Occasionally, ironhead fish and some cuttlefish swam by. These were all ordinary creatures, worthless, so Han Fei didn't pay attention to them. Han Fei quietly swam in the water like a big fish. He wondered if there was a combat skill that could turn him into a fish. If there was such a combat skill, it would be very convenient in the ocean. As long as he was strong enough, he could go wherever he wanted. Half an hour later, Han Fei was still moving towards the mountain. But when he was halfway there, he found a gap between two big stones. Han Fei didn't pay attention to this, but he saw the remains of a sea serpent near the entrance of the cave. It seemed to have been dead for a long time, and even the body had been eaten up by horseshoe worms. Is there someone in the cave? Han Fei immediately took out a piece of black fish skin and covered his face. On second thought, he put away the knife and replaced it with a stick. After changing his attire, he quietly snuck in. Less than 100 meters into the cave, Han Fei saw a large number of rare sapphire crabs. These sapphire crabs were not small. Some were smashed, some were pierced by knives and swords, and some were shot by arrows. Han Fei was shocked. There was more than one person here. Chapter 254. Skimming past piles of crab shells and swimming less than 1,000 meters. Han Fei vaguely heard the sound of fighting. Han Fei's eyes lit up, and he continued to move forward. After a while, the space in front of him suddenly opened up. In such a large lava, cave-like place, quartz crystals were everywhere inserted on the rock walls. Han Fei hid on the side and looked out, only to see that 2 boys and 1 girl were fighting a big lobster. The point was that the 2 big pincers of this lobster were in a state of detachment, just suspended on both sides of the red lobster, and these pincers were spinning like a top. Han Fei narrowed his eyes and data appeared. Name iron wall lobster introduction. It has flexible iron arms and can attack like a catapult. Because it is good at drilling into the ground, its pincers are extremely flexible. Its 2 pincers can also be refined into magic weapons. Level 33 quality, exotic quality, contained spiritual energy, 2,192 points, edible effect. It can enhance one's chi and blood. Collectible lobster pincers, absorbable. Han Fei frowned. A level 33 exotic creature? That's awesome. Among the large creatures he had seen so far, it could be ranked in the top 10. As for the other 3 boys, Han Fei didn't know any of them. One of them was fighting with a bow. As for the other 2, one was holding a spear and the other was using a knife. At this moment, the 3 of them were fighting with the iron wall lobster. Almost all the attacks were blocked by the pair of pincers, and sparks flashed from time to time. Han Fei glanced at them and then looked into the cave, only to find a small sea tree growing in the center of the cave. The stick was straight, the body was pure silver, and there was a silver fruit on the top. Name Snow Silver Bamboo Introduction. The treasure bamboo bred by the Silver Crystal Mine can be refined into an ultra-quality magic weapon. Bamboo bears silver fruits which can strengthen the muscles and bones. Level 30 quality, ultra-quality treasure bamboo quality, ultra-quality treasure bamboo, collectible snow silver fruit, absorbable. Seeing this snow silver bamboo, Han Fei drooled. In the sea, it was not difficult to encounter bamboo trees. For example, there were many in the deep sea jungle. However, it was very difficult to encounter bamboo trees of good quality. This was especially true for those with fruits on them. Almost all of them were the best among their peers. For example, the purple bamboo tree was an ultra quality in the ordinary fishery, but it was only mortal level. Han Fei glanced at the snow silver bamboo and then at the iron wall lobster. What if I want both? No, not just 2, but 3 fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei was not in a hurry anymore. He just hid on the side and thought to himself, go ahead and fight. Once the fight is over, I'm here to harvest. There was simply no one who could be the fisherman. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, the bow-wielding girl roared and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the spiritual energy arrow. An arrow was shot out. The arrow suddenly made a sharp turn in the air and shot directly under the lobster. Chi-Chi, the iron wall prawn, was furious. It threw out a large pincer and smashed it towards the girl, as if it wanted to smash her to pieces. However, the spear-wielding young man attacked with all his spiritual energy. Bang! The pincer flew out and broke countless quartz crystal pillars. The blade-wielding youth took the opportunity to drill into the iron-walled prawn's abdomen. Suddenly, a gash several meters wide appeared in the iron-walled prawn's body. Han Fei couldn't help but be surprised. The three of them almost killed this exotic iron-walled prawn. Although it took a long time, he had to admit that they were already very powerful. No wonder they could enter the top 100 of the academy. But could Han Fei let the iron-walled prawn die? That was impossible. If it died, how could he collect it? Swish! The three teenagers were about to kill this iron-walled prawn when a spiritual energy arrow suddenly appeared, startling them. Not good, there's an enemy. The three of them were talking to each other. At the moment when Han Fei shot the spiritual energy arrow, the three of them gathered together. Although they had consumed most of their spiritual energy, they didn't panic at this moment and seemed to be quite calm. Bang! Crack! The iron-walled prawn was shot on the carapace of the head by an arrow, and cracks appeared on the carapace. The three teenagers' faces changed drastically when they heard this cracking sound. They had been fighting this iron-walled prawn for so long, but failed to kill it. But the person who came later cracked the carapace of its head with an arrow. This meant that the person who came was very strong. Han Fei leisurely appeared. Seeing a pincer trying to grab it, he immediately waved the water-stirring seal. He didn't even need to use his shadow. He smashed the pincer with his seal and sent it flying. Han Fei ran to the prawn's head and smashed it 4 or 5 times in a row until the head was full of cracks and the iron-walled prawn fainted. Han Fei looked at the three teenagers with a smile. Fortunately, the three of them had crippled the iron-walled prawn. Otherwise, it would have taken him a lot of effort to fight it alone. In his mind, the girls said to him via voice transmission, "Shameless. We killed this prawn." Han Fei thought to himself, "I don't care who killed it. Anyway, it's mine now." So he said to them via voice transmission, "Hand over your fiery mountain tokens, and I'll let you go." However, there was no response from the other side. Han Fei walked over step by step. "We're all classmates. Don't make things difficult for me." The three of them frowned slightly. Classmates? From our school? However, just when Han Fei was about to ask for their fiery mountain tokens, the three of them suddenly broke out. The spear-wielding boy waved his spear, and a big blue fish suddenly appeared, rushing straight at Han Fei's face. Smack! Bam! Han Fei raised his hand and slapped down, and the big fish and the spear were both slapped away. But what followed was 3 explosive arrows. The spiritual energy exploded in front of Han Fei's eyes through the arrows. Waves of rolling water were set off. Even though Han Fei had been prepared, he was still shaken back several steps. Cold light flashed in the waves, and Han Fei suddenly took out his double knives. Clang, 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 clang. In the blink of an eye, dozens of knives slashed at each other, and the boy was sent flying by Han Fei. At this moment, his hands had been frozen. When a fish hook brushed past Han Fei's cheek, the fish skin mask on Han Fei's face was torn open. "Ha! You're good at cooperating." Han Fei put on a smile and stared at the three of them. "Since you've seen my face, then, hand over your fiery mountain tokens before I'm ready to beat you up." The three of them were all black at this moment. Classmates, isn't this Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There are only 5 people in their academy in total. How could they meet him? Seeing that the girls still wanted to take the bow, with a swish, a blue sea wandering dragon dagger cut through the seawater and fell directly in front of the girl's neck. Girls should be reserved. Don't fight. The spear-wielding boy said, "Give him your fiery mountain tokens. We're almost out of spiritual energy now. We can't fight with Han Fei in his peak state." Swish, swish. 3 fiery mountain tokens were thrown out. Han Fei caught them with a smile and threw them into Forge the Universe. Plus his own fiery mountain tokens, he had already got 7. Han Fei nodded. Not bad, not bad. I'm a generous man. I won't argue with you. Let's go. At this time, the three of them didn't say anything harsh. If Han Fei became angry and wanted to kill them, they would be in danger. So the three of them gritted their teeth and left quickly. Han Fei smiled, and the demon purification pot flashed. Collect the demon. Collecting the iron-armed lobsters, Han Fei walked to the snow-silver bamboo, raised his knife, and picked the snow-silver fruit. Then Han Fei pulled out the snow-silver bamboo and was about to enter Forge the Universe. Suddenly, he looked up and saw some thick crystals hanging in the air on the twisted top of the cave. Han Fei blinked, and his eyebrows jumped several times. Why does it look a little familiar? After a moment, fuck! Han Fei's face changed, and he immediately took out a small box from Forge the Universe, the small box that he took from Master Turtle. Han Fei quickly opened the map inside. Back then, when they received the map, none of them knew where it was located. However, when he opened it, Han Fei immediately found a large crisscross stone pillar in the southeast corner of this fish skin map. F***CK, a treasure map of the Fiery Mountain? At this moment, Han Fei felt a sudden sense of happiness. It was like a pie falling from the sky. He actually had a treasure map of the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain. It was like the heavens were helping him. Inside Forge the Universe. Ha ha ha. I have a map. Who am I afraid of? Treasures, here I come. Chapter 255. All spiritual fruits contained spiritual energy. This snow-silver fruit didn't have much spiritual energy, only more than 30,000 points. So far, it wasn't enough for Han Fei to refine a spiritual weapon. Of course, it was enough to refine a magic weapon. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei swallowed the snow-silver fruit. It was cold in his mouth and tasted not as good as strawberries, only a hint of sweetness. However, then Han Fei felt that his bones were a little numb. He looked inside himself and found that there were spots of silver light in his bones. My bones can shine? After a while, when the effect of the snow-silver fruit disappeared, Han Fei found that the silver light gradually faded, but his bones became a little brighter or a little bit more immortal, because they were emitting a hint of silver light. Han Fei got up and sensed it, only to find that his strength had increased by nearly half from the original base. Wow, can a fruit have such a great effect? Han Fei was shocked. At his current level, with the indestructible body strengthened to this point, a small increase in strength meant an increase of hundreds of kilograms. Besides, Han Fei felt that his bones had become a lot stronger. This snow-silver fruit didn't just increase his strength. As for the spiritual energy, it might just be supplementary. Hey! Han Fei threw the rod into the demon purification pot to refine it, while looking at the map in his hand. Although there were no marks on the map, there were no less than 20 places with special features on the map. Among them, the mountain accounted for as many as 6 of them, and the place where he was actually not eye-catching, just a relatively small mark on the map. Han Fei secretly calculated the proportion. 200 kilometers southeast from here, there were 3 doorways. Needless to say, it must be one of the treasures. A few minutes later, a silver rod appeared. Because Han Fei didn't consider the shape and patterns of the rod just now, this silver rod looked very ordinary except for its extraordinary material. Name Snow Silver Rod Introduction, made of snow-silver bamboo. The rod is very heavy and extremely hard, but its shortcoming is that it is a little tough and not easy to bend. Quality, high-quality magic weapon, attached, none, recastable, unrefined. Note, due to the limited forging materials, it can be cast into a high-quality magic weapon at most. Han Fei picked up the rod and was overjoyed. This kind of rod weighing 1,000 kilograms was better. After dripping blood on it, Han Fei wouldn't feel it was heavy even if he carried it. The rod in Forge the Universe was heavier than the F*** King Golden Hoop Rod, and Han Fei really couldn't carry it. After a while, Han Fei carried the snow silver rod and happily set off to the 3 doorways in the southeast. The main task of the Fiery Mountain was not only to find opportunities, but also to fight for the Fiery Mountain tokens. But he had to find someone to fight for the Fiery Mountain. So where was the easiest place to find? Where could he find someone? Without hesitation, Han Fei swam to the 3 gates at full speed. Along the way, he also found some bubble algae and took a few deep breaths. Han then Su Fish Sea. On the way, Han Fei met 2 people, but both of them were advanced great fishing masters. Han Fei chased it for a while, only to find that it was also very fast and almost impossible to catch up with it. He spiritual energy and Han and he silver dragon Li he dragon he dragon said Fei and said dragon, silver dragon Tili flying. Different from the stone gap, just now, the place of the 3 doors on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than 1 kilometer wide. Unlike the stone gap, just now, the location of the 3 gates on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than 1,000 meters wide. Right in the middle of this small oceanic trench, there were 3 large holes visible to the naked eye. Anyone who passed by would probably be able to discover this place. There were traces of fighting at the entrance of the hole, and there were many big pits nearby. Han Fei hesitated for a moment and dived down. No matter what was in the hole, he would go in first. Little White, which hole do I go in? Little White floated for a while against Han Fei's cheek, and then swam directly into the hole in the middle. Wow, is it so boring? The hole in the middle is the largest. It doesn't look like a good hole. Treasures are hidden in it. Han Fei carried the snow silver rod, took out a fish skin mask, put it on his face, and began to explore. However, as soon as he entered, Han Fei felt something was wrong. The cave was abnormally cold, completely different from the water temperature of more than 20 degrees outside. It was extremely cold in this cave. If it was just cold, it wouldn't be a big deal. The point was that in addition to the coldness, there was a gloomy and terrifying sound, trembling and lingering. Woo, woo, woo. Ha! The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Is there something scaring me? But before Han Fei swam 1 kilometer, he saw a hand floating in the sea. Han Fei. In an instant, Han Fei's heart tightened. A hand? Is someone dead? He had to be nervous. Those who could come to the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain couldn't be ordinary. For example, although the people he had met were weaker than him, it was not as if they had no redeeming qualities. At least, some people were not slower than him when it came to running. After a while, Han Fei saw a broken body, and on that body there was a black shadow, but he couldn't see what it was. The black shadow seemed to have heard the noise and jumped out with a swish, leaving only an afterimage in place. Han Fei went over to take a look. This boy had been dead for a long time. His chest had been drilled through, and the middle was a bloody mess. Han Fei's face darkened. That damn thing was eating the body just now. Although, theoretically, those who participated in the secret realm assessment of the Fiery Mountain were all enemies. But this didn't mean that the enemy should die like this. Han Fei immediately knocked on the rock wall with his rod and covered the body with some gravel. Of course, Han Fei also rummaged through this guy's Fiery Mountain token, but he didn't find it. It must have been taken away. Brother, make do with it. Remember in your next life, don't do it if you don't have a diamond in your hand. Han Fei continued to swim forward. After swimming less than 500 meters, he suddenly leaned to the side and attacked with his rod. A black shadow leaped out from behind him with a swoosh. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes, but he didn't have time to see it. Han Fei didn't chase it. This thing was too fast. Little Black couldn't bite it even if he wanted to. Han Fei grabbed Little Black's tail. Don't worry, I'll come back. Han Fei continued to swim in. Blood appeared in the water occasionally. Han Fei guessed that someone should be injured. After a while, Han Fei stopped. He saw dozens of forks and a dozen caves leading in all directions. And in most of the caves, there was a faint blood color spreading. Have many people been in this cave? Little White, where do I go? As a professional direction guide, Little White began to feel awkward facing more than a dozen caves. Sometimes he wanted to go left, sometimes he wanted to go right, which made Han Fei frown from time to time. Did Little White fail? In the end, Little White chose a cave on the side. Han Fei swam in without any hesitation. But not long after he entered, there was another cave. Damn, what the hell is this place? Why are there so many caves? After Little White chose, Han Fei continued. But this time, Han Fei's soul was shocked. When he was halfway through, the seawater completely turned blood red. As far as his eyes could see, there was blood everywhere. Damn, how many people are going to die? However, this was not the end. There was a squeaking sound in the seawater. Han Fei almost subconsciously activated a spiritual energy protective cover and had the nine-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him. Sure enough, in the next moment, a large number of black shadows emerged. They shuttled back and forth like black shadows. In terms of speed alone, they were much faster than Han Fei. Squeak! When Han Fei saw them clearly, he was shocked. They were all black rats. A string of data flashed in his eyes. Name Darkwater Rat Introduction, living in undersea caves all year round. Likes decaying things, is extremely fast, and has an amazing bite force. Its teeth are hard and can be used to make arrows. Level 27, quality rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 596 points. Edible effect, can enhance the user's vitality and blood. Collectible, rat teeth absorbable. Swish, swish, swish. The 9-star chain was instantly opened, and the blue sea wandering dragon surrounded Han Fei like a grinding wheel. And Little Black had already rushed out. From time to time, Han Fei saw Little Black open his mouth and bite a Darkwater rat in half. However, at this moment, Han Fei was a little scared. This was not what he was worried about. It was just a group of water rats. Could they really kill him? Just now, at the moment when the Darkwater rats surged over, he saw a gloomy face not far away, ghastly and terrifying. 5. Chapter 256. Almost in the blink of an eye, the water around Han Fei became extremely turbid and the flesh of Darkwater rats was everywhere. Han Fei found that although the Darkwater rats were fast and had a strong bite, their defense was not even as good as that of level 20 rare fish. Do you want to win with numbers? Han Fei didn't know how many water rats were hanging on him. However, so far, none of them could bite through his skin. It was just a little painful, that was true. BM with himself as the center. Han Fei suddenly burst out a spiritual energy explosion, and dozens of water rats were shattered in an instant. At this moment, Han Fei knew where the so-called blood water came from. There were a large number of water rats in almost every cave. Was it dangerous? Of course it was. If it were anyone else, even if they had strong means of attack, they would be bitten to death or at least half of their life. When thousands of water rats were minced, these annoying fellows hurriedly retreated. They seemed to find that Han Fei was not so easy to deal with. Han Fei braced himself and walked forward. In the blood red, Han Fei always felt that something was watching him. Immediately, Han Fei released his spiritual perception and scanned the space inch by inch. There must be something here, but he couldn't find it. After swimming for a while and passing through the Bloodwater area, Han Fei found that this cave was long, with dark stone walls on both sides. Touching the stone wall, Han Fei swam carefully, and the snow-silver rod in his hand was replaced by a blue sea wandering dragon dagger. Suddenly, Han Fei suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed it directly into the wall beside him. A human face suddenly emerged from the stone wall, and at the moment when Han Fei stabbed it, the human face melted into the stone. F*CK, Han Fei felt that there were 10,000 iron-head fish galloping in his heart. It was so King exciting. That thing was not human at all. Besides, this thing could evade his spiritual perception. Fortunately, he had the demon purification pot in his hand. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to find this damn thing. Devilfish? Just now, a message flashed in his eyes. Mutant devilfish elusive. Fond of darkness, weak attack power, but extremely good at substitution. Can change faces and can create fear. 30 mysterious 1672 points inedible none Han Fei swallowed. He was a little stunned when he first saw the message. This was the third time he had seen a mysterious creature. It was a fish that had no attack power, but it had a strange ability that could cause fear. At this moment, Han Fei wondered why he, who had always been so stubborn, ended up in this damn place. He was always on tenterhooks, so it was all because of this thing. *CK. Don't let me catch you, or I'll chop you to death. Han Fei wondered if there were any treasures in this place. How could there be treasures in such a gloomy and terrifying place? Give me a fishbone. Han Fei blinked as he saw someone running towards him. This kind of encounter was very strange. In a place with a radius of 1,000 miles, the two of them just had to meet in such a pitch-black cave. Wasn't this strange? Hey, brother, why are you running? Han Fei waved his hand and said hello. However, that person didn't respond. He held 2 axes in his hands and leaped over, chopping down violently. Dang, 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 Han Fei's face slightly changed. Hey, who the *CK are you? However, what responded to Han Fei was a heavy axe, on which there was a phantom of a big pincer. Rumble! The billowing waves immediately exploded. Han Fei frowned. This person was an advanced great fishing master, but he exerted strength beyond that of an advanced great fishing master. The axe just now made Han Fei feel as if he had taken Zhang Xuanyu's 7-layered rod in Furious Sea. Because the two were too close, Han Fei found that this person's eyes were red and he seemed to have lost his mind. Humph! 9-star chain. BAM! 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 9 chains were instantly nailed to the rock walls on both sides, directly binding the lost boy. But Han Fei didn't expect that this person was so crazy that he gathered all the spiritual energy in his body. This was no longer a spiritual energy explosion. Did this guy want to blow himself up? BM, Han Fei poked this person's stomach with a rod and directly scattered the spiritual energy. Then he smacked his back with the rod, knocking him to the ground. Han Fei withdrew the chain and saw a palm-sized starfish behind the boy's neck. Psychedelic, starfish parasitic starfish liked to attach to fish and could easily control the parasite's mind, making it manic. 25 rare, 545 points inedible none. Han Fei pinched this psychedelic starfish and found that this thing had been embedded in the boy's skin. Han Fei took out a knife and made a circle behind the boy's neck. The boy's skin was immediately covered with a layer of frost, and his neck became stiff. Come down. Han Fei directly pulled the starfish down. However, this starfish didn't move at all, as if it was frozen. Under his feet, the boy's stiff neck seemed to have woken up. After waking up, the first thing he did was to take out a fish skin pouch from his waist and take a breath into the fish skin pouch. Then he slowly recovered and sat on the ground, clutching his neck. Han Fei asked, "You're awake?" With a swish, the boy jumped up. Maybe he was too excited, or maybe he didn't react, but the consequence of being hit by Han Fei just now came. The boy was bleeding from all his orifices. "Who are you?" Han Fei waved the starfish in his hand and said, "You were parasitized by this thing. I saved you. How are you going to repay me?" The boy. He seemed to be recalling something. After a while, his face stiffened and there seemed to be a trace of horror in it. Han Fei said, "Don't be silent. If it weren't for me, you would have been dead. So, give me your fiery mountain token." The boy looked at the masked Han Fei and asked solemnly, "Who are you?" I am me. I am a different kind of firework. The boy covered his neck. Anyway, you saved me, so this life is yours. I'll give you my fiery mountain token. The boy took out a fiery mountain token, and Han Fei said to him, just one? The boy was stunned. Isn't it just one for each person? Han Fei was suspicious. You don't have any companions dead? Don't pretend. I've already buried one ahead. That guy's fiery mountain token has long been taken away. Huh. The boy shook his head. I don't know. I did come with another girl, but she should not be dead. We encountered a ghost-faced fish. I was bitten and she ran away. A girl. Han Fei frowned. Is there another group of people here? Han Fei put away the fiery mountain token and waved his hand. Go out. The dark water rats in the passage have been cleaned up by me. The boy cupped his fists and said, I'm Gu Tao from the Third Academy. Thank you for saving my life. Han Fei waved his hand without looking back. Gu Tao couldn't resist the various strange creatures here, but he was not afraid. Now that he had found the ghost-faced fish, he wouldn't take it out unless he killed it. Of course, in addition to this reason, there were at least 2 or even 3 fiery mountain tokens here. How could he let go of the fiery mountain token? Moving forward, the internal structure of the cave became more and more complicated. Before, there was still a path to follow, but now there were caves everywhere. Han Fei really admired the guy just now. He didn't get lost in it. Xiaobai, can you feel someone nearby? Take me to it. Cell phone station. Chapter 257. Perhaps with Little White's help, it was easy for Han Fei to find the way. But this also led to other consequences. In just half an hour, Han Fei was attacked twice. This time it was still the suicidal charge of the dark water rats. But these rats couldn't do anything to Han Fei. The other time, Han Fei was attacked by the devil fish. This guy popped up behind him and bit him, crushing his spiritual energy protective cover and biting off a piece of flesh. This was the difference between mysterious creatures and exotic creatures. Han Fei was confident that as long as this devil fish was an exotic species, it couldn't bite through him at this level. At this moment, Han Fei snorted and ran forward with the rod. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When palm-sized psychedelic starfish shot over like darts, Han Fei's face turned green. Damn, the devil fish, right? Don't let me catch you, or I won't take you in. I'll skin you alive. Han Fei was very sure that from beginning to end, all the trouble he encountered was caused by the devil fish. Is this guy a devil? Why can it control these rare creatures? He thought quickly, but his hands didn't stop. 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers formed a circular shield in front of him, rotating in front of him. Watching the starfish being crushed one by one, Han Fei sneered. Is there no other way? You even used the psychedelic starfish? Han Fei seemed to think of something. He had been attacked one after another along the way. Was it because this devil fish didn't want him to move forward? The more he thought about it, the more curious Han Fei was. What secrets were there in the depths of the cave? His spiritual energy was constantly consumed, but Han Fei didn't care. Compared to spiritual energy, whether it was the dark water rat or the illusory starfish, they were not easily grown. They couldn't keep coming to die. When he figured this out, Han Fei moved faster. In the cave, the horrible and gloomy smell became stronger and stronger. In the end, there was a sob in the sea, as if a woman was crying. Stop playing tricks. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon bow suddenly appeared in his hand, and he pulled the bow to a full moon. Swish, 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 several spiritual energy arrows bombarded the area in front of them. For a time, the cave was full of spiritual energy, and rocks were flying. In the rubble, a human face grinned at Han Fei. Xiao! The human face stone was blown to pieces. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Why don't you show up again? But then, Han Fei didn't find the devil fish. It seemed to have disappeared into thin air. With Little White leading the way, Han Fei finally came to the depths of the cave. As soon as Han Fei came in, he saw a layer of white bones on the ground, and in the middle of the bones there was a light green blade of grass swaying in the middle of the bones. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A blade of grass? Hidden mist grass? In his eyes, misty grasse, bait spirit plant. Wherever the hidden fog grass was, it would attract sea creatures. Generally, it was used to cultivate special creatures to evolve and mutate. 34 spirit plant 12666 points after consuming it. The user would be able to become invisible. Han Fei's face changed. Sure enough, as he expected. Back then, he had seen the introduction of this spirit herb in the Encyclopedia of Spirit Plants. This kind of grass was usually used by elites as bait to cultivate mutants. So, this mist-hidden grass was deliberately placed here by someone? A lot of questions popped up in Han Fei's mind. Looking at so many bones on the ground, there were not only fish bones, but also human bones. So, this mist-hidden grass should have been here for many years. But the problem was, didn't it say that only people below dangling fissures could enter this secret realm? Besides, the bones all over the ground didn't seem to have been accumulated for decades. If someone did this on purpose, was that mysterious mutant devil fish the mutant cultivated by that guy? Han Fei shivered slightly. How difficult it was to deal with mysterious creatures. This mutant devil fish could be seen. It was the first time that he had been fooled by a fish. Han Fei immediately drew the bow, and the spiritual energy arrow turned into a stream of light, shooting straight at the mist-hidden grass. It was not that he didn't want to eat this mist-hidden grass, but since this thing was deliberately placed here, how could he let others take advantage of it? Sure enough, when the spiritual energy arrow was about to hit the mist-hidden grass, a turquoise circular energy shield suddenly appeared. Bam! The spiritual energy arrow, which was comparable to the full blow of an advanced great fishing master, was blocked, but the turquoise energy shield didn't shake at all. Woo! Ah! When Han Fei attacked the mist-hidden grass, the whimpering sound appeared again. This time, Han Fei didn't even look back, but secretly instructed, "Little Black, look behind me. If this thing dares to come up, bite it to death." Not only Little Black, but the 9-star chain behind Han Fei was also swaying slightly, as if saying, as long as it dared to appear, I would kill it. Han Fei continued to raise the bow, the corners of his mouth curling up. The War Soul bow technique had a total of 9 arrows. Just now he was just testing it. Swish, swish, swish. When Han Fei shot the arrows, the whole cave was shaking. With Han Fei's attacks, the consumption of spiritual energy was higher and higher. The first time was only 200 points of spiritual energy. The second time was 400 points. The third time was 800 points. Han Fei gritted his teeth. When he shot the 4th arrow, the spiritual energy in his body was exhausted. Fortunately, he had enough spiritual energy. When the bowstring of the 5th arrow was pulled out, the veins on Han Fei's whole arm bulged. This arrow was almost beyond his ability. Around him, the sea was shaking. Above his head, rocks fell. However, Han Fei didn't care at all. This arrow burst out 3,200 points of spiritual energy. Han Fei believed that even a junior dangling fisher would be blown up in an instant. Because even if he was a dangling fisher, who dared to say that his upper limit of spiritual energy had exceeded 3,200. Just when Han Fei was about to shoot this arrow, he felt a chill behind him and goosebumps appeared on his back. At this moment, the corners of Han Fei's mouth suddenly curled up. He leaned forward and quickly turned around in midair. Swish! A dazzling white light burst out in an instant, illuminating the entire cave. Han Fei even saw many mist starfish entrenched on the top rock wall, but he didn't care. Hey, I said, if you dare to show up again, I will kill you. A large amount of gravel fell from above. But Han Fei didn't even look at it and directly slapped the gravel aside with the 9-star chain. And 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers instantly shot out. This time, a large part of the rock wall collapsed by Han Fei's arrow, and the mutant devil fish was embedded in the rock wall like a piece of meat skin. This time, it failed to melt into the rock and escape. Han Fei sneered. Run. Continue to run. Your soul has been blown up by me. Let's see how you can run. In fact, Han Fei didn't want to shoot the mist-hidden grass at all, but he expected this damned thing to sneak attack him. Everything was just an act. However, after this arrow, Han Fei only felt that his arm was extremely sore and he couldn't exert any strength for a while. No, it seems that I have to use the 5th arrow less. At this moment, Little Black bit through the devil fish. However, Little Black was stunned. There was no King meat. Han Fei was speechless. Is it really just a piece of skin? Not even a bone? If it weren't for the data in his eyes, Han Fei would really think this thing was a fake fish or a piece of fish skin. At this moment, the devil fish had lost half of its skin and was dying. Han Fei stretched out his finger and flicked its fish skin. Should I kill you? TSK, TSK. With that, Han Fei grabbed a blue sea wandering dragon dagger and cut the fish skin of the devil fish. Wherever the dagger passed, frost condensed. Finally, Han Fei saw panic in the fish skin-like eyes. However, Han Fei didn't panic at all. Mysterious creatures were so easy to kill. He didn't believe it. Slash. Han Fei cut a hole in the fish skin. It seems that you can't speak. That's right, so far, I have only met 2 that can speak. It seems that not all mysterious creatures can speak. Han Fei stared at it for a long time, but unfortunately there was no feedback in the end. Forget it, collect the monster. However, he didn't complete the collection this time. That damned fish was still resisting. Slash. Han Fei raised his dagger and cut dozens of times on the mutant devil fish, cutting the thin layer of fish skin into pieces. Han Fei said angrily, I've given you face, haven't I? Surrender or die. Cell phone site. Chapter 258. Just when this mutant devil fish was about to be cut into pieces by Han Fei, it finally accepted its fate. It was not that it didn't want to fight back, but if it continued to fight back, it would really die. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Just now, he wanted to give up this damn thing, thinking, if I can synthesize a creature similar to this mutant devil fish, it won't be cute at all. After cleaning up the mutant devil fish, Han Fei turned his eyes to the mist-hidden grass. Han Fei put away the blue sea wandering dragon bow and took out the water-stirring seal. After his 4 consecutive strikes, this shield had weakened a little. Han Fei suspected that the person who arranged this small formation was not very strong. At least, under the power of his 4th arrow, the shield was shaken and flickered several times. Clang, 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 the shield was knocked violently with a force of 10,000 kilograms. Every time Han Fei knocked, the surrounding water rippled and surged. For a time, the seawater in the cave surged out. Gotcha! After Han Fei knocked dozens of times, the first crack appeared. But at this moment, Han Fei suddenly looked back, only to see 2 teenagers running over from the entrance of a cave. One of them was covered with blood, missing a lot of flesh and blood, and his face was disfigured, but the other person was intact. Han Fei even felt that this person was not weak, probably at the level of a peak-level great fishing master. Even after seeing him, that person still had a calm expression on his face. At this moment, the 2 first looked at Han Fei and the mist-hidden grass protected by the shield. Then, looking at the rock wall where Han Fei had just shot a huge hole, they frowned. Han Fei waved his hand. Hey, hello. Before the 2 of them answered, a girl came out of the cave on the other side. The girl was carrying 2 daggers. When she saw Han Fei and the other 2, she couldn't help but be surprised. Han Fei grinned. It seemed that the situation was better than he expected. If he guessed right, these two teenagers had at least 3 fiery mountain tokens, and this girl had one, so he was about to get 4 fiery mountain tokens. This was a treasure hunt. However, before Han Fei could figure out how to deceive these 3 people, the girl suddenly approached Han Fei. I don't know who you are, but the guy opposite me is Kong Yunfei from the First Academy, ranked 6th in the top 100 list of the 3 academies. You and I have to work together, or neither of us will be able to escape. Han Fei blinked. Okay. On the other side, Kong Yunfei frowned slightly. Give up that spiritual herb and hand over your fiery mountain tokens, and I'll let you go. Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, Humph, don't be arrogant. I, Gu Tao, am an expert ranked 80th on the top 100 list. Su Yunfei, if you insist on snatching it, don't blame me for taking you down with me. If Gu Tao were here, he would definitely despise Han Fei in the strongest way. I was impersonated, just like that. If you want to impersonate me, you should at least do a better job. Since when did I become 80th? I'm ranked 96th. Kong Yunfei sneered. Since when can a guy ranked 80th be so arrogant to a guy ranked 6th? Luckily, Sun Yunfei had never paid attention to students below the top 10. Otherwise, he would have seen through Han Fei. A question popped up in Han Fei's mind. You are not Gu Tao. Did you meet him? How is he? Han Fei paused. He forgot that Gu Tao said he had a companion. So it was this girl. Han Fei responded, Let's meet them first. We are allies. On the other side, Sun Yunfei gestured with his eyes, and the boy next to him immediately rushed to another cave entrance, and at the same time pressed the armor box in his hand to the ground, ready to fight at any time. Han Fei looked at the girl next to him. What's Kong Yunfei's profession? The girl was taken aback. Don't you know Kong Yunfei's profession? He's ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, the girl immediately responded, He's a soul warrior, very strong. His spiritual beast is a ghost eel, extremely fast, and his lightning slash is very strong. What about the other person? The girl shook her head. I don't know him. He's not in the top 100. Han Fei asked, What about you? The girl said via voice transmission, I'm ranked 100th on the top 100 list, Yuan Jia. Who are you? Is Gu Tao still alive? Han Fei replied, Alive. I am a lonely traveler in the ocean. Don't ask me where I come from or where I go. I won't tell you. Yuan Jia. Yuan Jia wondered if she had met a fool. Don't be so naughty in front of a powerful enemy, okay? Han Fei asked seriously, Well, why didn't you run just now? Yuan Jia looked serious. If I could run out, I would have done so long ago. I know you are also in danger, but at least you need me now. I can pin down the injured one. After dealing with him, I will go to help you. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Boy, is she throwing this Kong Yunfei to me? I don't know where this girl gets her confidence from. She thinks she can beat the person ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, Han Fei was not afraid. He just responded with a smile. Okay. Su Yunfei frowned. Han Fei gave him a weird feeling. He always felt that this person seemed a little familiar. It shouldn't be. How could he be familiar with a person ranked 80th on the top 100 list? Han Fei said via voice transmission, Hey, it's not easy for me to find this thing. I can't give it to you. I won't hand over the fiery mountain token. If you don't want to die, leave quickly. Kong Yunfei smiled. You want to scare me away? I know all the top 10 on the top 100 list, okay? Since you are not in the top 10, what am I afraid of? Yet, he still wanted to fight to the death with him? Kong Yunfei said via voice transmission, Thank you for the noise you made here. Otherwise, I might not have been able to find you. So, I will spare your life. With that, a spear suddenly appeared in Kong Yunfei's hand. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A spiritual weapon spear. This was the first student Han Fei had seen using a spiritual level weapon. Just this alone proved that Kong Yunfei was definitely not weak. But Han Fei didn't care. A spiritual weapon without a sealed creature was not much stronger than a magic weapon. He immediately rushed up with the snow silver rod. Bam! It was just a tentative blow, but 3 layers of ripples broke out and the water shook. Under the huge shock wave, Yuan Jia and the boy brought by Kong Yunfei almost couldn't stabilize their bodies. Kong Yunfei's face changed slightly. You can't be 80th on the top 100 list. Han Fei suddenly accelerated. Hundreds of spiritual energy vortexes suddenly appeared on his body, and the snow silver rod in his hand struck crazily. Even in the water, Han Fei waved the rod, leaving countless afterimages. Kong Yunfei was horrified. Fast, too fast. Han Fei struck out hundreds of rod shadows, and those were not virtual shadows, but just an illusion caused by Han Fei's speed. Kong Yunfei subconsciously raised his spear to block. But after a series of bombardments, Kong Yunfei found that every time he blocked, the spiritual energy in his body would be consumed a little. In just a few seconds, he had lost as much as 10% of his spiritual energy. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, when a flash of lightning flashed, Han Fei hurriedly retreated. But no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the electric current? The thick electric arc rushed straight into Han Fei's body, and its power was comparable to the high-voltage current of dozens of piercing electricity jellyfish. At the moment when Han Fei was trembling, Kong Yunfei stepped on the air, rotated his body horizontally, and stabbed the spear in his hand. Just when Kong Yunfei thought he would hit Han Fei's body twisted in a strange arc in the water. His slightly chubby body was even softer than a girl's. Bam! At the moment when the two passed each other, Han Fei directly hit Kong Yunfei with his rod. But it was not over yet. The 9-star chain burst out in an instant, directly buckling Kong Yunfei's hands, feet, head, and waist. Then Han Fei flipped the big seal in his hand and slapped it down. Bam! Kong Yunfei flew out like a cannonball in an instant and hit the rock wall hard, making the rock wall full of cracks. On the side, Yuan Jia and the other boy were dumbfounded. What's going on? We haven't fought yet. And it's over on your side? The 6th-ranked soul warrior on the top 100 list didn't even last for 3 breaths before he was killed? Boom! Kong Yunfei on the rock wall suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, his eyes red, and broke free from the rock wall with a bang, and a huge eel phantom emerged. At the same time, a single-horned shark appeared in the water. Kong Yunfei shouted, "I'm going to kill you." Han Fei was stunned. A shark? In addition to Zhang Xuanyu's bloodthirsty shark, he saw a second shark, the one with horns on its head. The single-horned shark instantly turned into a water blade. In an instant, a huge blade, tens of meters, long slashed straight at Han Fei. Water-stirring seal technique. Han Fei said seriously. The water-stirring seal was no longer a brick. The big seal phantom of tens of meters floated in the air and hit the blade with a brick. Clang! The ear-piercing roar shook Yuan Jia and the other person, causing them to vomit a mouthful of blood. In the next moment, a big shark was slapped away on the rock wall. Han Fei also flew out upside down and hit the rock wall. Han Fei shook his head, broke free from the rock wall, and even scratched his head. Kong Yunfei was dumbfounded. Damn it, he's fine? The other two were shocked at the same time. Han Fei. Chapter 259. Han Fei twisted his body and adjusted his muscles and bones. The 6th on the top 100 list was indeed quite powerful. Just now, the power of the shark actually knocked away the water-stirring seal. At this moment, the fish skin on Han Fei's face was shattered, and the 3 of them saw Han Fei's face. Kong Yunfei didn't know Han Fei at all, nor had he been to the Blue Sea Arena to watch a game, so he was not surprised. But Yuan Jia and the other person subconsciously took 2 steps back. It was this guy. Immediately, Kong Yunfei seemed to have received some news. Kong Yunfei asked, "Han Fei, the 4th Academy?" Han Fei smiled, and with a flash of golden light, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, waving its 9 chains in the sea. Han Fei pointed at the other 2, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp waved its chain in the air, meaning, "If you dare to run, I won't be polite anymore." Yuan Jia and the unknown young man's faces turned green. "Are you kidding me? You want to tie me up for a contractual spiritual beast?" The 2 of them reached an agreement almost instantly and attacked at the same time. An iron hook squid and a machete crab instantly attached to their bodies. However, the 9-star chain was like a sharp arrow, arriving in an instant. The saber in the young man's hand was smashed into pieces, and the 3 chains coiled around him like 3 poisonous snakes. Yuan Jia didn't have it easy either. Although the iron hook squid was good at entangling attacks, when faced with 5 or 6 chains, she could only barely dodge them no matter how hard she tried. There was no way she could fight back. Yuan Jia was shocked. It's at least an exotic creature, the kind that isn't too strong. Han Fei ignored the 2 of them. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was enough to deal with them. He looked at Kong Yunfei and said, "Exposed. At this point, hand over your fiery mountain token. Or if you have any other tricks up your sleeves, you can try them too." Kong Yunfei frowned. Just because he didn't know Han Fei didn't mean he hadn't heard of him. In fact, ever since Han Fei defeated Su Yabai, he had become famous. Many students on the top 100 list said that they couldn't beat Han Fei because Su Yabai was a manipulator. If they sent a soul warrior, they would definitely be able to win. But now that was not the case. Han Fei's face seemed to arouse Kong Yunfei's ferocity. Kong Yunfei turned into a shadow and rushed towards Han Fei. The next moment, the 2 of them started fighting. The cave was filled with flashes of light and shadows. The 2 of them were extremely fast, throwing out all kinds of combat skills as if they were free. After a full 5 minutes, Han Fei knocked Kong Yunfei down with a rod, and a blue sea wandering dragon dagger shot through his palm. There were dozens of scratches on his body, and his clothes were torn to shreds. His body was drenched in blood. "Not bad, but not strong enough. How did you rank 6th? Kong Yunfei almost vomited blood. "Am I not strong enough? I've hit you dozens of times, okay?" However, what made Kong Yunfei despair was what kind of body was this? He couldn't move it at all. Han Fei looked at Kong Yunfei, lying on the ground with a smile. "This guy is almost as good as Zhang Xuanyu." No, he had to tell Zhang Xuanyu that he was about to be caught. Han Fei stretched out his hand. "Give me your fiery mountain token, or I'll kill you." Kong Yunfei's mouth was bleeding and his expression was ugly. "You're not going to kill me? It's up to you whether to kill them or not. This is just a trial, and you're already a seated figure in the Blue Sea town. In the future, there are so many small fries in the 36 towns, and someone has to deal with them." Han Fei thought to himself, "Kill you? Am I stupid? If I want to kill you, I have to kill the other 2. Even if I kill them all, Gu Tao will still run out. Won't I be exposed? Besides, when Kong Yunfei goes out to grab a few more fiery mountain tokens, he may be able to rob him again. How nice. It's so nice." Kong Yunfei took out 2 fiery mountain tokens and threw them to Han Fei. "I will catch up with you." Han Fei was surprised. "You gave me 2? Kong Yunfei snorted. "Winner takes all. I don't want to keep one. Otherwise, it will seem like I can't afford to lose." Han Fei finally glanced at Kong Yunfei. Although he was arrogant at the beginning, after losing he became normal. To put it bluntly, he was asking for a beating. Han Fei didn't want to kill Kong Yunfei, but looked at the other 2. "Give it to me." Yuan Jia and the other boy were almost crying. They admitted that they couldn't beat Han Fei. After all, he was from the 4th Academy. They couldn't afford to offend an academy with only a single-digit enrollment. but they couldn't even beat a contractual spiritual beast. This was very annoying. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp put away the 9-star chain. It didn't even need to swim up and smash the opponent. It could kill the opponent with its tail. Then the 9-tailed mantis shrimp climbed to Han Fei's side and hugged his leg. Han Fei's face changed drastically, and he immediately took back the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, in case this idiot did something disgusting. Yuan Jia and the boy both threw out their fiery mountain tokens helplessly. At the same time, the two of them also deeply recognized their level. It was enough for them to keep their qualification for the top 100. Compared with people like Han Fei or Kong Feiyun, they had no chance at all. Han Fei got 4 fiery mountain tokens at once. Plus the ones he got before, he had a total of 12. Han Fei thought this is too easy. In just half a day, he got 12. There are only 305 people participating in the trial in total. It should be no problem for him to get 50 fiery mountain tokens in 7 days, right? Since the fiery mountain tokens were given, they were no longer enemies. At this moment, Kong Yunfei swallowed healing pills and sat cross-legged to heal his wounds. Han Fei ignored Yuan Jia and the boy, but holding the water-stirring seal, came to the mist-hidden grass and began to knock on it, making their scalps go numb. Clang, clang, clang. After knocking for a full 5 minutes, the small shield was smashed open by Han Fei. Han Fei picked up the mist-hidden grass and threw it into Forge the Universe, thinking, this thing can make me invisible after eating it. It's a waste not to eat it, but I don't know how effective it is. Han Fei had asked Xiao Shaochan if she could learn stealth, but she said it was an exclusive stealth combat skill for hunters. There were many kinds of stealth combat skills, and although they were similar, there were also powerful ones among them. The most powerful one was that even his peers couldn't find him when he was invisible. Of course, if he perceived with spiritual power, he could still find traces. Han Fei didn't care. It was good enough that he could be invisible. At least when he went into the sea, he didn't have to worry about the harassment of some small fish and shrimps. Didn't Luo Xiaobai just find an invisible jellyfish as a contractual spiritual beast? Kong Yunfei was speechless. I'm F***king, healing myself. How am I supposed to heal myself when you're smashing me? Kong Yunfei got up with a slightly pale face. Shall we go out? Han Fei asked. Do we know each other very well? If you want to go out with me, you can each owe me a fiery mountain token. Yuan Jia asked, what? A fiery mountain token to go out? Han Fei blinked and said, why don't you try to go out and have a look yourself? Anyway, this place is full of caves. Although you can definitely go out, I don't know if you can have a place to breathe. Anyway, I don't mind you staying here for a while. You'll have fewer competitors. Kong Yunfei didn't even blink. Okay. He didn't want to waste time. He had tried to go out before, but unfortunately, he couldn't find the way after a long time. Since Han Fei could go out, he didn't mind owing him a fiery mountain token. After going out, he could just rob someone. He couldn't beat Han Fei, but few of the more than 300 people outside were his match. Yuan Jia said, I'll try my best. If I can't get it, Han Fei said, then forget it. But you have to give it to me if you get it. This is a matter of integrity. Yuan Jia was speechless. Integrity? You're taking advantage of me. Han Fei counted with his fingers. It seemed that he had 15 fiery mountain tokens now. Not a loss, but a small profit. With a flash between Han Fei's eyebrows, little white intimately stuck to Han Fei's cheek. Han Fei said, let's go out. Along the way, everyone looked at Han Fei strangely. Who said that the spirit swallowing fish was useless? This thing's IQ was too high, wasn't it? Han Fei was relying on it to lead the way. After a while, the 4 of them went out of the cave, and Han Fei reminded them, don't forget, each of you owes me a fiery mountain token. If you don't give it to me, humph, next time I meet you, don't blame me for being ruthless. Kong Yunfei snorted, turned his head, and left. The other 2 hurried to find the bubble algae and didn't respond. But Han Fei didn't panic. If these people really went back on their words, he would kill them. After they left, Han Fei took out the map, thought for a while, and decided to swim to that mountain. On the map, there were so many treasure marks on the mountain, which must be of great benefit. Mobile phone station. Chapter 260. Han Fei didn't stop for a moment except to take 2 breaths of air along the way. The closer he got to the mountain, the more he found the problem. It was too big and too high. The huge shadow was probably tens of thousands of meters high. It was because of this height that Han Fei was horrified. If a mountain that was tens of thousands of meters high didn't emerge from the water, then where were they? Underwater? Are you kidding me? Han Fei didn't think he could withstand the huge pressure of tens of thousands of meters deep. With this consideration, Han Fei immediately took out the blue sea wandering dragon bow, gathered a spiritual energy arrow, and shot it straight up. As a result, the spiritual energy arrow exploded less than 500 meters away, and a visible spiritual energy ripple spread in all directions. This scene made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. There's a seal. This is not an ordinary seal. It covers 1,000 kilometers. Who on earth has the ability to seal such a large area? Han Fei couldn't help thinking of the layout of the floating islands, villages, level 1 fisheries, and level 2 fisheries, which were beyond his imagination. If all this was deliberately done by someone, this person must be very powerful. Han Fei shook his head. This was not something he should think about. He had to go to the mountain as soon as possible. If he guessed right, the target of the more than 300 students at this moment was this mountain because it was too conspicuous. About half an hour later, Han Fei avoided many kinds of fish and shrimps, including the piercing electricity jellyfish, blue hat jellyfish, soul-attracting jellyfish in the piercing electricity zone, plate rays, spider crabs, and even sandworms in the deep-sea jungle. The closer he got to the mountain, the more careful Han Fei was. The undersea creatures he encountered were stronger and stronger. They could even be said to be sea monsters. Any one of them would be a boss-level creature in the ordinary area of the level 2 fishery. Han Fei was like a small fish swaying in the water. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that 3 invisible figures were floating to him. Chilla, the seawater exploded in an instant, and 3 cold lights flickered like streams of light, reaching him in the blink of an eye. Spiral strike. Han Fei frowned, rotated his body with the long rod, and chose one of the cold lights. At the same time, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers flashed out of his body and attacked the other 2. Bam! Under the huge shock wave, a mouthful of blood mist spurted in the water, and the next moment, the figure retreated quickly, trying to escape. Hey, you want to go? Don't you think it's too late? Attach. The 9-star chain shot out, but then Han Fei gave up on the opponent because another cold light pierced at him from below. Spinning blade. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers drew curved arcs in the seawater, like a blooming umbrella, blocking the cold light in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Han Fei held the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand. Whoosh! A white mark was left on the seawater, and a figure was nailed out by Han Fei. Without the stealth state, the hunter was just a piece of cake to Han Fei. Han Fei swooped down, replaced the blue sea wandering dragon bow with the snow silver rod, and launched a staff technique from the sky. The young man below was very anxious. He took out a fish skin pouch from his waist. The fish sac exploded, and a large amount of black ink dyed the water black. As if they had made an agreement, the 3 hunters attacked at the same time. Han Fei could feel the power of this blow. Although they weren't Xia Shaochan never risked her life to fight him. But these people weren't. They were risking their lives. In the darkness, Han Fei grinned. I'm afraid you don't know what spiritual perception is. Han Fei's body was more flexible than a fish, and he pierced a hunter with his rod. At the same time, the 9-star chain swept out. The 9-star chain of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was very powerful, and few people could easily resist it. In the blink of an eye, 3 figures fell out of the black ink. Han Fei floated in the water with the rod and said, "Fiery mountain tokens." However, one of them said with a pale face, "Let us go. There's dead leaf poison in the ink pouch. Let us go and we'll give you the antidote." Han Fei frowned. It was okay for hunters to use poison, but using poison in this trial showed that they didn't intend to let the hunted live. Han Fei instantly threw out the rod in his hand, which penetrated the young man's chest in the blink of an eye. The snow-silver rod stuck straight into the mud at the bottom of the sea, raising tens of meters of mud. "Are you threatening me? I wanted to let you go, but you threatened me." Han Fei didn't even look at the man, but looked back at the other man and woman with a smile. Antidote, fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei knew what dead leaf poison was. It was recorded in the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants that dead leaf poison came from the dead leaf starfish. This kind of starfish was shaped like dead leaves and was highly poisonous. Dead leaf grass would only be produced in their gathering places. It should be something that only existed in the level 3 fishery. If it was just the poison of the level 2 fishery, Han Fei wouldn't care at all. He had swallowed the exotic poisonous fruit and the moon-watching fruit, so the poison of the level 2 fishery was basically ineffective to him. But this was the poison of the level 3 fishery. He didn't dare to be careless. It was better to know the antidote first. The other 2 hunters' faces changed drastically. Han Fei was too strong. The 3 of them besieged him unexpectedly, but failed to kill him. Instead, he killed one of them. This was terrible. At this moment, the 2 of them were very regretful. After recognizing Han Fei, they were too careless. They thought that the 3 of them were all advanced, great fishing masters. When they fought together, they were equivalent to 3 peak-level great fishing masters, but they failed to kill Han Fei. How can we believe you? The other boy looked at his comrade who had been killed by Han Fei. At this moment, a chain was rummaging through his body, and soon 2 fiery mountain tokens were brought back. Han Fei threw them into Forge the Universe without even looking at them and looked at the 2 with a smile. "Awesome. It seems that you have more than 1 fiery mountain token on you. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it, or you'll die." The girl said, "We can give you the antidote and the fiery mountain tokens, but you have to promise Sea God that you won't kill us." Han Fei asked Sea God, "What the hell is that?" "You have no choice but to believe me." The 2's faces changed drastically. This was so disrespectful. How could he be so rude to Sea God? Was Han Fei crazy? The girl still wanted to say something, but was stopped by the boy. The boy shook his head and threw a small bottle to Han Fei. However, Han Fei didn't take it at all. He pointed his finger, and a wave of water pushed the bottle to the boy. "Take a sip first." The boy's face changed slightly. At the moment his face changed, Han Fei's face suddenly turned cold. The blue sea wandering dragon bow appeared in his hand and he shot an arrow. At the same time, dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers followed closely. Puff! 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 The boy resisted angrily, but the exposed hunter had no power to fight back against Han Fei. In the end, a chain pierced the boy's chest. Han Fei's face was gloomy. "You want to fool me with such a little trick? Did you hit your head with an iron-head fish?" Han Fei rummaged and frowned. "Why is there only 1 fiery mountain token?" The girl was pale with fright and quickly responded, "We agreed that we would each grab 1 and go to the mountain, but he still needed 1, so... Oh, here you go." The girl was frightened and threw the 2 fiery mountain tokens to Han Fei. Otherwise, Han Fei could also get them if he killed her. Han Fei took the fiery mountain tokens. "Good girl." Antidote. The girl hurriedly took out the antidote, took a sip, and then threw it to Han Fei, saying in fear, "Don't kill me." Han Fei shook his head slightly. She was scared out of her wits. He really didn't know how she became an advanced, great fishing master. Even He Xiaoyu was not as good as her. Han Fei drank the antidote and felt the blockage in his body just now disappeared. He waved his hand and said, "I'll let you go, but you owe me a fiery mountain token. If you meet me next time, remember to give it to me. Otherwise, hey, just stay with them." As soon as Han Fei finished speaking, the girl slipped away with a swish, not daring to stay for a moment. Han Fei picked up the daggers of the two dead people. Both of them were low-quality magic weapons. He curled his lips slightly and threw them into Forge the Universe. Maybe he could use them one day. Maybe he could sell them for some money. Mobile phone station. Chapter 261. As soon as Han Fei pulled out the snow silver rod, he saw a sudden burst of strong light on the huge mountain. Something seemed to have been triggered. So fast! Han Fei's face changed slightly. He had been here for less than a day, and there was movement on the mountain. This meant that someone had arrived. Oh, that's my chance! Han Fei swooshed off the ground and swam towards the mountain. It was different from ordinary fisheries. If you could get the opportunity in ordinary fisheries, you could get it, and if you couldn't, you could just give it up. It all depended on your luck. But this was a trial. These fortuitous opportunities had to be snatched. Not only Han Fei, but at the moment when the strong light burst on the mountain, at least hundreds of people in all directions also moved. After more than half a day of exploration, almost everyone found that the entire water area appeared around the mountain. Now that the mountain was rioting, how could these people not be anxious? Originally, there were about 300 people scattered in the water area with a radius of 1,000 kilometers. But at this moment, the range had almost shrunk to within 200 kilometers, and almost no one was here. Han Fei avoided a lot of fish and got closer and closer to the mountain, only to see a large number of silver spots flickering like a curtain of the Milky Way. As Han Fei approached, the silver gauze seemed to move closer to Han Fei consciously. When the two sides were only a few hundred meters apart, Han Fei bared his teeth. Damn, this is too much. Why is this silver curtain a large number of exotic fish? What are they doing here? In his eyes, a new species of fish appeared. Its whole body was almost transparent, but it was shining with silver light. It was only the size of a palm, but had pure white eyes. It didn't look like a good fish at all. Explosive silver fish spiritual energy silverfish, containing a lot of spiritual energy in their bodies, often appeared near spiritual energy silver mines. Because they absorbed a lot of spiritual energy, the spiritual energy in their bodies was extremely unstable, and they had to reproduce to reduce the energy in their bodies. Spiritual energy. Once they encountered an enemy, they would often self-destruct. 24 rare 561 points, quickly replenishing spiritual energy. Large number of silver fish seemed to rush towards Han Fei consciously, just like the phantom fish he encountered before. The reason why the phantom fish chased him was that he killed their companions. But why were these silver fish chasing him? Han Fei turned around and ran. At the same time, the mist-hidden grass appeared in his hand, and he stuffed it into his mouth and swallowed it. Han Fei didn't use it before because he wanted to go back and see if he could refine pills. Now, it seemed that there was no longer a need for that. Faced with the overwhelming number of explosive silver fish, Han Fei was almost certain that this was similar to the piercing electricity zone. The difference was that the piercing electricity jellyfish could only discharge electricity, but they could not self-destruct. However, this thing would self-destruct at the slightest provocation. If one were to force their way through, they would probably be half-crippled by the explosion. A-level, 24 fish was equivalent to an intermediate great fishing master. Once it self-destructed, who knew how powerful it would be? As soon as the nine-tailed mantis shrimp lashed out with its chain, it immediately exploded. Jia did it dozens of times. What kind of explosive silver fish was this? Every time, Jia, unexpectedly, a spherical water ball appeared in the water. Damn it, Is it so hard to get close to that mountain? When he ran dozens of kilometers away, he found that the explosive silver fish stopped chasing him. Instantly, he relaxed a lot and sat down in the water. I've finally escaped from the devil's clutches. Not long after Han Fei relaxed, he sensed ripples in the water. In the distance, he could vaguely see a bright spot exploding. Is there anyone else who wants to pass through the school of explosive silverfish? It was only a matter of time before he finished refining the fog-hidden grass. But before that, the fiery mountain token was also extremely important to him. If I can't find the treasure, can't I grab the fiery mountain tokens? Su Tsung from the Second Academy was confident that he could break through the explosive silver fish with his strong defensibility as an armorist. But as soon as he rushed in, he was stunned. The 4 shields around him could no longer withstand the crazy self-destruction of the silver fish. He felt it for himself. Every silver fish was bathing. In fact, it was equivalent to the full-strength blow of a junior great fishing master. He didn't even last for 5 breaths of time. The 4 shields weren't broken, but the huge explosion was still going strong. Ja's shockwave caused the blood in his body to surge, and he bled from his 7 orifices. Su Tsung did not dare to charge forward when he saw the dense school of silverfish. He quickly retreated. By the time he rushed out, 2 of the 4 shields had been blown up. He was dripping with blood, and his back was almost covered in silver fish scales. Su Tsung vomited a mouthful of blood. With a burst of spiritual energy, the scales on his back were shaken out of his body. But then he was bleeding. He quickly swallowed a qi and blood-healing pill. Before he sat cross-legged to treat his wounds, he suddenly raised his shield to block. Dum, 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 9 chains broke through the air, and the deafening noise was several times more terrifying than the explosion of the silver fish. Su Tsung took out his swords and knives from his armor box. But at this moment, more than a dozen cold long knives had fallen in front of him. Han Fei suddenly appeared and grinned. Fiery mountain token! When Su Tsung saw Han Fei, he almost vomited a mouthful of blood. How shameless! Han Fei was trying to fish in troubled waters. Su Tsung frowned. Han Fei, there's no grudge between us. 2 fiery mountain tokens. Su Tsung widened his eyes and said telepathically, How can I have 2 fiery mountain tokens? I didn't run into anyone on the way. Han Fei said, I don't care. It's perfectly justified for me to rob you. That one of yours is mine now. Do you think I let you go for free? So, you owe me a fiery mountain token. Su Tsung almost fought with Han Fei. However, he realized that he had just consumed a lot of spiritual energy. If he fought with Han Fei now, he would definitely lose. Having no choice, Su Tsung gritted his teeth and handed over the fiery mountain token. I'll get the other one. Han Fei grabbed the fiery mountain token. Don't even think about reneging on your debt. You're not the only one who owes me a fiery mountain token. I remember it clearly in my notebook. I'll go to them one by one later. Su Tsung said gloomily, I won't renege on my debt, as long as I can get it. Then, Su Tsung ran away. How did he run into Han Fei? Before he entered the secret realm, he discussed with his classmates that they would kill Han Fei if they ran into him. Little did he know that all his friends were gone after he entered the secret realm. In the same way, Han Fei circled the silver fish and looted 8 fiery mountain tokens. Of course, there were 7 more people who owed him debts. At this moment, the mist-hidden grass in Han Fei's body had been refined and began to work. Han Fei was trying to turn invisible, but he found that the mist-hidden grass was not as effective as he thought. It seemed to be invisible, but on a closer look, it seemed to retain the outline of a human body. He might not be able to distinguish fish and shrimps, but it was useless to humans. Garbage spiritual grass. Han Fei complained. Sure enough, the mist-hidden grass could only be used as bait. Its stealth ability was too weak. Han Fei was complaining when he saw 5 people swimming close together. Han Fei was in a half-stealth state. Although it was not very advanced, it could still be considered stealth. These people were too far away to see him. Han Fei immediately hid in the crevice at the bottom of the sea. This is tricky. Why are these 5 people together when everyone else is alone? When the 5 people approached, Han Fei's eyelids cramped. He saw an acquaintance, Suyabai. Unfortunately, he didn't know any of the other 4. If it were someone else, they would have exclaimed, 5 of the top 10 experts of the 3 academies are here. Suddenly, one of the 5 looked down. Han Fei held his breath and thought, have I been discovered? Suyabai asked, what's wrong? A cold-looking boy frowned. Someone seems to be watching us. A guy who looked as handsome as Zhang Xuanyu had the whites of his eyes. Han Fei could tell at a glance that he was indeed suspected. He turned out to be a spirit gatherer who was observing the spiritual waves around. Han Fei immediately calmed himself down. Thankfully, he had practiced the 108 spirit-absorbing ore bodies, which could seal his spiritual energy. Otherwise, he might have been discovered. Han Fei secretly calmed himself down. These 5 people were very strong. Including Suyabai, they were all peak-level great fishing masters. Also, Han Fei suspected that they were a perfect team. He knew that Suyabai was a manipulator, and the leading boy was carrying an armor box and the handsome spirit gatherer. Then, did it mean that the other 2 were a soul warrior and a hunter? After a long time, the spirit gatherer shook his head, casually. Forget it. Maybe they're hiding. Let's go over first. Cell phone website. Chapter 262. Han Fei was rather panicked. Those 5 people were truly strong. If any of them were hunters, it would be easy for them to find him. But after a few seconds, they left, as if they didn't care about him at all. Han Fei pondered. 5 peak-level, great fishing masters. If they were a perfect team, could he handle them? Although Han Fei was confident, he knew that he had to act within his capabilities. If it were Xia Shaoqian the girls and a spirit gatherer, he could only kill 3 of them at most. But of course, Han Fei didn't think that those 5 people were as strong as the 5 of them. So he followed them quietly. Since you don't care, I'll wait until you feel the power of the silver fish's self-destruction. But a moment later, Han Fei's eyes widened. The armorist took action first, which was different from Lu Rinquang's armor box, which was full of knives, swords, and sticks. As soon as his armor box was opened, the tortoise shells were assembled into a large ball, like a puzzle, which enveloped all 5 of them. It was the first time that Han Fei had seen such a handsome armorist. It was unbelievable. Lu Rinquang had never shown such a cool armorist technique before. But it wasn't over yet. Layers of glittering ice crystals appeared on the tortoise shells. Immediately, a glittering ball of ice crystals appeared. However, it wasn't over yet. Hundreds of spider threads darted out of the ball and nailed to hundreds of rocks at the bottom of the sea. In the end, to Han Fei's astonishment, the ball disappeared into the school of silver fish in the blink of an eye, like a shot from a slingshot. Bam! 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 Wherever the ball passed, all the silver fishes would self-destruct. However, Han Fei watched the ball pass all the way as if it didn't meet any obstacle. Damn, it's rather strong. Han Fei was solemn. Not surprisingly, this was the strongest team that Han Fei had ever met, including the one in the 100th game in the Blue Sea Arena. If the armorist at that time had been replaced by the armorist just now, the outcome of the battle might have been different. Han Fei frowned. He looked at the mountain before him and then at the school of silver fish. Even though he was confident in his powerful physique, it wouldn't be easy for him to force his way through. He appeared and summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Before this fellow could get close to him, he kicked it in the head and said, "Dig a hole for me. Dig your way through." The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was speechless. "Every time you call me out, I'm either fighting or digging holes. Can't you call me out at other times?" The 9-tailed mantis shrimp quickly dug the soil with its 2 forelimbs. A few breaths later, a shrimp hole was drilled out. He had to admit that the mantis shrimp was really fast at digging holes. With a few thumps, he loosened the soil. After a while, Han Fei felt that he had passed half of the journey. Hey, not bad. I'll reward you with a female mantis shrimp in the future. Hearing this, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp worked even harder. Do you think it's easy for me? I haven't even seen a single prawn feather after such a long time. I hope you're not lying to me this time. Just as he was running forward, his eyelids suddenly twitched. He seemed to have dug something up. When Han Fei perceived it, his face turned green. It was a huge nest of insects. To be exact, it was the nest of sandworms. Countless enormous sandworms were entangled in the nest. More importantly, the nest was too large for his perception range of 200 meters to detect anything. F*CK. Attach. Almost in the blink of an eye, the place where Han Fei was occupied by an enormous head. BM, in the middle of the silver fish that looked like a silver light curtain, a figure broke out of the soil. Behind him, one enormous head after another popped out of the ground. The enormous sandworms that were dozens of meters tall seemed to be swimming in the silver fish. Bam! 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 Han Fei's face turned green. Who made such a huge nest of sandworms? It was 2F** King scary. After only 1 second, Han Fei's head was dizzy from the explosion. Little gold fuse. In an instant, a pair of sharp wings grew out of Han Fei's back, and an enormous phantom appeared on his head. It looked like a bird's head, but had giant gills and 9 chains on its tail. At this moment, if Han Fei were to fly in the sky, someone might mistake him for a phoenix. He had wings, a tail, and a bird's head. Phew! At that moment, Han Fei's speed was multiple times higher than before. The feather god ray's characteristics were fully revealed. It was extremely fast. Because the speed was too fast, the original golden red wings directly turned into 2 golden blades. Wherever it passed, it would be jaw-folded. What Han Fei didn't know was that on the other side of the silver fish, 4 boys and 1 girl were standing on a rock and staring at the silver fish. Was someone really staring at us just now? The spirit gatherer nodded. Yes, I didn't see it, but I sense different spiritual energy. The armorist said, he can't be weak if he can hide it from you. I think he has more than 1 fiery mountain token. Let's take him down first. The girl, on the other hand, took out 2 enormous hammers. She was petite and carried the hammers that were half the size of a person. The girl said, I hope he can take one of my hammers. While they were chatting, a streak of golden light dashed among the silver fish that looked like gravel in the Milky Way. Wherever it passed, it would be jaw-folded. The speed was extremely fast, but it still formed a line. However, it was even quieter than when they had passed through the school of silver fish. The girl's expression was solemn. So fast. Su Yabai frowned. The phantom of a spider appeared behind him and shot out a large amount of spider silk. Dense spider web. Su Yabai made his move. Strands of spider silk intertwined and formed a large net in a few breaths' time. The young spirit gatherer raised his hands, and the seawater on both sides squeezed and condensed into a water wall. The armorist, on the other hand, gently placed the armor box at his feet. Bang! Han Fei was speechless and thought to himself, am I being stubborn? If I had known that I would have to force my way through, I would have come here much earlier. In the end, they still couldn't avoid being bombed along the way. At this moment, his head was a little swollen, and he was bleeding from his 7 orifices. The qi and blood in his body were in a riot, and he felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a complete tonic. The moment he dashed out of the school of silver fish, he saw a huge net blocking his way. F***CK. In an instant, he took out the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. The tenacious spider web was pierced through as if it were made of paper. The 5 people behind him all changed their expressions, as Han Fei's reaction speed was really fast. But after the spider web, there was another water wall. Han Fei had no time to decelerate. He wanted to curse aloud. It's those 5 bastards who ambushed me here. I've been ambushing them all the time. But now I'm the one being ambushed? Since he couldn't decelerate, he wouldn't slow down. Little Gold was stubborn. How could he be scared of a water wall? BM, at that moment, the water wall exploded like a bullet piercing through water, raising a mist. A sonic boom sounded when the water wall was hit by him. But at this moment, Han Fei saw the girl smashing at him with a hammer that was half the size of a person. Spiritual chi erupted from the hammer, bringing along layers upon layers of thick waves as it smashed down like a giant dragon. Water-stirring technique. Han Fei was not scared at all. He was not scared of anyone in terms of strength. When the illusion of the seal, dozens of meters long, appeared, Suyabai quickly said telepathically, "Zwa, Zwa, watch out." It's Han Fei. However, Suyabai's warning was too late. The hammer and the water-stirring technique collided, and a visible ripple burst out. Between the hammer and the seal, the huge impact blasted out 2 huge water ball shockwaves. Rumble! There was an explosion in the seawater. The girl vomited a mouthful of blood and was smashed into the ground like a cannonball. Han Fei was also flung back and smashed into the water wall by the hammer. He was shocked by the tremendous force. The young armorist's face turned cold. Is he Han Fei? Then he patted his armor box and a dragon swam out. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Even Lu Rinquang hadn't shown the swimming dragon in the box before. That be asterisk starred must have been lazy. Why didn't he learn such a powerful combat technique? I'll beat him up when I find him later. Han Fei's whole body suddenly rose. The blue sea wandering dragon bow appeared in his hand, and he drew it to a full moon in the blink of an eye. Swish! Swish! The dragon illusion collided with the arrows of spiritual energy, and the first 2 arrows of the War Soul art were broken. At this time, it was too late for Han Fei to shoot the 3rd arrow. Fortunately, the dragon had disappeared, revealing the true form of the weapon, a spear. The spear was entangled by the phantom of a dragon snake. Han Fei twisted his body and replaced the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand with the snow silver rod. BM! The spear was smashed back by Han Fei, and Han Fei rose again with the counterforce. At this moment, the girl who was smashed into the ground by Han Fei jumped out and crossed her hammers. Let me. But Han Fei didn't pay attention to her. But one of the 5 had disappeared. The next moment he saw a red dot flash by. Han Fei's 9 tails instantly blocked in front of him, and the 9 tails clanked. The hunter didn't expect Han Fei to react so quickly. He retreated after 1 strike and didn't attack again. Sure enough, there's a hunter. Han Fei smiled. I'll remember this. I'll pay you back later. In the eyes of the 5 people, Han Fei turned into a golden shadow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Cell phone website. Chapter 263. Han Fei ran wildly all the way. Although he knew that these people shouldn't be able to catch up with him, he'd better keep a distance from them. In the brief fight just now, Han Fei had a rough idea of the strength of these people. They were indeed very strong, although the girl was knocked down by his seal just now. However, Suyabai had taken a hit from him and was almost killed by him. However, the girl got up in the blink of an eye and jumped up and didn't seem to be injured at all. Oh, none of them seems to be weaker than Kong Yunfei. Han Fei seemed to have guessed something. He must have encountered the strongest team among the 3 academies. Because of this, Han Fei felt that it would be very interesting if they were to fight against him. Han Fei canceled the attachment state and a fish skin map appeared in his hand. He turned and swam to the bottom of the mountain. After about an hour, Han Fei swam around half of the mountain before he found a treasure land sandwiched by 2 erect stones. But as soon as he landed, he saw 3 people rushing out of it. For a moment, both sides stopped and stared at each other. Han Fei said, "Hello. What a coincidence. You've just come out. Hand over the treasures." However, the response was, "It's Han Fei." He's also from the 4th Academy. Go. Han Fei. Han Fei was dumbfounded. This doesn't sound right. What do you mean I'm also from the 4th Academy? What's wrong with the 4th Academy? Han Fei said, hey, let's talk nicely. Don't fight as soon as you meet. That's not good, is it? A girl said angrily, not good? The treasures we worked so hard to find were all stolen by Xia Shaochan. She stole them, you know? She stole. Han Fei was speechless. What Xia Shaochan did was really infuriating. If it were him, the treasures that he worked so hard to find were stolen in a blink of an eye, and when he opened his eyes, he found that the treasures were gone. Han Fei easily avoided the girl's attack and responded, That's not right. Since it was stolen, how do you know it was Xia Shaochan who stole it? What if it was someone else? Don't frame the 4th Academy. A young man stretched out his hand, and a large amount of spirit-entangled grass swept over. At the same time, he said, She stole it in front of us. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers swept past and cut the spirit-entangled grass into pieces. What the hell? Right in front of you, that's stealing? That was clearly robbery. You deserve to be robbed. It shows that your skills are inferior. You still have the cheek to say that? Come on, hand over your fiery mountain tokens. Fiery mountain token? Let's steal the fiery mountain tokens. Of the 3, the only armorist who hadn't spoken seemed to be bursting with fury. He patted the armor box, and all the weapons seemed to be thrown out. There were as many as 100 of them, chasing after Han Fei. Han Fei was amused. It turned out that Xia Shaochan had stolen his fiery mountain token too. Since that's the case, I'll let these guys go. It was already pitiful enough. What's more, they're just a bunch of paupers. What's there to fight? Could it be that there was no time cost for him to fight with them? After fighting for a while, the 3 of them were so tired that they almost collapsed and Han Fei left. Han Fei flipped through the fishskin map. The place just now was relatively large on the map, but it was robbed by Xia Shaochan. In this case, there was no need for him to go in. On the map, in addition to the dangerous place at the top, there were 2 or 3 treasure places to go. Another half an hour passed. Han Fei came to an underground cave, but this time it was full of carcasses of horseshoe insects. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Horseshoe insect nest. This is a bit disgusting. Should I go? In the end, Han Fei didn't go, but waited at the entrance of the cave. Xia Shaochan wouldn't wait for others to grab the treasure before robbing them. Would she rush in stupidly? However, after waiting for an hour, the people in the cave still hadn't come out. But to his surprise, 2 girls came. Because Han Fei was hiding on the side, in the semi-invisible state of the mist-hidden grass, the 2 of them didn't notice him. At this moment, the 2 girls stood in front of the cave entrance and seemed to be talking. Xiaohe, do you want to go down? These insects are so disgusting. Go. There are opportunities down there. But it's the insect nest down there. Well, why don't we wait outside? Anyway, the people inside will come out sooner or later. There are so many insect corpses outside. They must have been in there for a long time, right? Suddenly, one of the girls looked back. Han Fei was leaning against a stone. Hey, what a coincidence. Aren't you going down? The 2 girls were alarmed, and one of them said, Han Fei? Han Fei laughed. Haha, why do I feel that you all know me? The 2 girls were speechless. Of course, there are only 5 people in the 4th Academy. Even if you didn't know each other before, who didn't know you when you snatched the door? The 2 girls seemed to have a discussion and suddenly ejected, ready to escape. They had long heard of Han Fei's strength. To be precise, the strength of everyone in the 4th Academy, including Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, had been studied countless times by others. Therefore, after weighing their own strength, the 2 girls chose to escape. However, before they escaped 10 meters away, dozens of chains suddenly broke out of the ground under their feet. In an instant, they entangled one of them and disrupted the other's escape route. Swish! 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 The blue sea wandering dragon daggers shot out, and Han Fei smashed at them with the snow-silver rod in his hand. How could he show mercy to women? It depended on the occasion. It was reasonable to say that people would die in the fiery mountain trial. He had been gentle enough. So far, he had only killed 2 of them. Water escape. However, before Han Fei reached them, he saw that the girl who was entangled somehow broke free from the chains and even disappeared. Gone. With his spiritual perception, Han Fei felt that a mass of water was running and had already run 200 meters away. Han Fei, the remaining girl, wouldn't turn into water. At this moment, when Han Fei smashed at her with the rod, she instantly turned invisible. Her flexible body bypassed the chains and 2 daggers were aimed at Han Fei's throat. The daggers were aimed at Han Fei's throat. Spiral strike. The snow-silver rod changed its direction and spun to stab at the girl. Bam! The girl was sent flying. You're not a hunter. How can you find me? Han Fei grinned. If no one can find me when I'm invisible, wouldn't hunters be invincible? The girl turned over and tried to escape, but the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had already drilled out of the soil. There was no way for her to escape. Han Fei asked, "You have more than 1 fiery mountain token, don't you? Hand them all over." The girl glanced at the cave next to her and was hesitating whether to run in or not. However, Han Fei made a gesture of invitation. "Give me your fiery mountain token, and I can let you go. If you go down, will the people down there let you go? Maybe you will die down there." The girl's face changed several times. In the end, she gritted her teeth and threw 2 fiery mountain tokens over. Then she jumped and was about to leave. Han Fei didn't stop her. If he could win without a fight, why fight? With these 2, he already had 27 fiery mountain tokens. This number was quite a lot, almost 1/10 of the total. Han Fei estimated that this was only the first day and no one should have more fiery mountain tokens than him. Just as he put away the fiery mountain tokens, the cave next to him suddenly fluctuated, and Han Fei swept over with his rod. Another hunter? However, this time Han Fei didn't get what he wanted. The water suddenly surged, and a figure disappeared out of thin air, followed by a dagger. The dagger was stabbed directly into his waist. "Asshole, you hit me? How dare you hit me? Han Fei." "Xia Shaochan?" Xia Shaochan appeared and looked at Han Fei angrily. "Okay, I was robbing things down there, and you were squatting here waiting for the fish. Why didn't you go down?" Han Fei raised his eyebrows. "No, I didn't know you were down there." Then Han Fei patted his thigh. "That's right. In that place just now, Xia Shaochan had just robbed the 3 people and ran away. It was very logical that she appeared here to rob others." Han Fei looked at the entrance of the cave. "The people down there," Xia Shaochan shouted. "Let's go. The fiery mountain tokens of the 3 people down there are all in my hands. As for the treasures, they have all been eaten by them. I can't hand them over." Han Fei was speechless. "That's really fast. Xia Shaochan, how many fiery mountain tokens do you have now?" Xia Shaochan replied telepathically without looking back, 37. "What about you?" Han Fei. Cell phone website.